Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of After Dark. For those keeping count like I do, this is technically episode 50. Not that we're spending any time celebrating a mile mark for a show that we do because we got nothing better to do on a Saturday. Right? Is that right, guys?
Oh, I got plenty better to do. I chose to be with you.
Well, that makes it sweeter. Guys, for anyone somehow, if the one viewer watching doesn't know me, my name is Aaron Knoll. I'm back. Last week I wasn't here. The guys did a great job taking over and running the show. Really enjoyed it. But those same guys are here this week, just with me as a mouthpiece for them. We'll go ahead and go first to the Mandalorian. Just like with the show, the Mandalorians have split for a time period. Mr. Nicky, that's remove, not large screen. There we go. I'll get the hang of it. I've only been doing this for how many months?
This is a weird show. I don't have the soundboard ready. Devin's like 50 feet away, but in a different house. So his audio quality isn't going to be as good because I didn't have time to set it up. We kind of had a crisis on one Earth and one lightsaber. Oh, God, and he's putting on his Ron Howard hat. So I don't know. Toss it to you, Devin. What's things like over there 50 feet away?
That is actually correct. Tonight we are joined by Devin from a separate location. You look more scared there than when you're held hostage by Nikki, by the way.
I was held hostage?
I mean, I don't know what you want to call it, whatever terms you use. Come and go situation.
Volunteered, asked to, drugged, you know.
All right, we got more words out of him than we have before. That's a record.
It's like he needs to go into the sound
there wasn't really a question. I don't.
I'll tell you.
I was at least here. I was far away from the mic.
No, you're good. You're coming through. You're just a little quieter because you're sitting back.
Is it
He has his Ron Howard hat on, or Kevin Feige. Which one does he look more like, guys?
All right. Well, speaking of something that will potentially involve Kevin Feige, but not for this project, Rex and Arandor is here, Mr. Matt Beer.
So, if you know me, you know that I've been pitching Matthew Stafford to the Colts. It's been my thing. I've been saying it for a while. You know, Matthew Stafford is going to be on the Colts. Well, guess what? He's not on the Colts. He got traded to the Rams. So rather than going to cold-ass Indiana, playing in a dome, mind you, where there's going to be no weather issues, he goes to sunny LA. So can't blame him there. So yeah, I'm a little just confused, sad, might shed a tear, might get dusted and then redusted or undusted. That's the word. But yeah, doing okay.
That was real sad, man. Maybe I might shed a tear for you too.
Please.
I don't know why somebody would choose LA over Indiana. There's no reasons as to why that would happen.
We got
Evan,
what
are you reading? You look so confused.
We got corn. We got leftover soda for those last week.
Not again.
Wait, the sodas from last week?
Yeah, so I had leftover soda. So I had my Burger King cup.
He was talking about it.
Had a McDonald's, not a McDonald's, a Pepsi, wild cherry Pepsi, to be exact. A Coke, and then I had more Coke. So this time I have the one Coke.
Opened at some point.
And I have my 4-pack.
Okay,
these will all be gone because of my emotions today. I have no ice cream.
Emotions.
And we can't watch Bridget Jones on here because we'll be taken down.
We probably
will. Which I don't know why we'd be taken down for Bridget
Warner?
Jones. I think Warner Brothers. Yeah, as soon as we show a picture of it, they'll take us down. As soon as we show a picture.
They're like, damn it, you're spoiling the fourth film.
Yeah. Bridget Jones and I don't know.
Well,
any of them.
Needs to produce a movie with that hat. Can we produce a Star Wars fan film, Dev? We got the lightsabers and the helmets for it. What do you think?
Can your lightsaber turn black? Can we do that if you put the Mandalorian helmet on?
No. I thought he was going to unzip there. I was worried.
Oh, this is.
Uh-oh.
We have
What are we,
physical
Greg?
models.
They do. You could do miniatures for film. Yep, you can make that work.
Hey, that's mine.
Well,
What's yours is his, Nikki, and you know that.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, unless you guys had anything else you wanted to bring up off the top, we can go ahead and get into the topics for tonight.
Oh, you can show him the Enterprise, Devin. Show him the Enterprise.
Do you guys have one of those over there too?
but the
Yeah.
Enterprise is heavy.
Well, pick it up. John.
Good hat change.
Where you
Good
lift
hat
it,
change.
the less heavy it will be.
Good hat change.
You know what you should have done, Dev? After the clip, just come back with a different hat every time.
After that. All right. So unless we go ahead and get into the first news story, which this week I prepared everything for except recording a video itself. I'm going to live read these like it was a recorded clip, only
Well,
simply
that doesn't
because. Huh?
Well, then just go close in on you.
Oh, I'm gonna.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, we're gonna go in.
But get
And
close to
then,
the camera, like comedically close.
like,
Okay,
I'm
there we
gonna be covering
Now,
my
you,
face.
you gotta talk real quiet. You gotta
Hello.
very like ASMR wise, and we'll all be muted.
No,
So
you're the captain of a. Okay, Devin's got the Enterprise.
Devin's got the Enterprise. All right, I'll go to Devin.
We love her.
All right. Well, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and, if I have to, forcefully mute you.
I'll mute you.
That's fine. We can do this all night. That's not
We
fun.
can do this all night.
But we'll go ahead and get into the first story. All right, here we go. Professionalism.
Look. Ah, that's hot.
What's hot?
I am the lightsaber. Matt's cock.
Yeah.
I'm glad
sure.
he heard that.
You talked about Devin's penis a few weeks ago, and now it's
Yeah,
called.
we're just we're trading cocks. All right, guys. Here we go.
Cock,
Here
cock, cock.
is
We'll talk about
Professional. It's time to get professional, guys.
time to get professional.
Story,
This is
right?
what we do.
This is gonna be a clip. I'm gonna put this as a clip on
Yeah, the
YouTube.
longer we fuck around, the more my face is on screen. All right,
Oh.
let's go ahead and do this. Here we
Devin
go.
changed his hat. I mean, we can get it off of you now.
All right. For our first story of the night, we begin with our first look this week that came from Kong versus Godzilla, which was given in the form of the first trailer. The trailer showcases a mix of new and old human cast, as well as the stars of the show in Godzilla and Kong, seemingly setting up a story in which Kong is being put forth as the protector of humanity against an angry Godzilla. The trailer did a good job in showcasing multiple major action sequences
There
from
it
the film,
is.
images of which are being showcased now. It also established what could be the heart of the film in the form of Kong's connection with a small child. With this trailer, we also learned the release date has been shifted back 5 days to March 31st, 2021. This means the film will release on a Wednesday and is looking to go for a 5-day opening weekend. This seems to be an attempt from Warner to capitalize on the lack of big releases over the last 2 months. Godzilla vs. Kong sees Millie Bobby Brown, Kyle Chandler, and Zhang Ziyi returning from Godzilla King of the Monsters, while being joined by Alexander Skarsgård, Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, Julian Dennison, and newcomer Kaylee Hoddle, among others in the large ensemble cast. The film, which is being directed by Adam Wingard, will release, as mentioned, on March 31st, 2021, simultaneously on HBO Max and in theaters.
What did that lady do to Kong?
All right. Let me bring everything
Can I
back.
just say it's
What
good
did-
to see Rebecca Hall.
Yeah, Rebecca Hall's in this, and she's high up on the cast list, so
I
she'll
really
have
like-
a decent role.
And she gets to say it's Godzilla. Like it's Godzilla. We got that legendary line from
She is the
Legendary
King Watanabe.
Pictures. I'm on the dark side this week.
So, here, Nikki, since you're talking, I'll go ahead and start with you. What were your thoughts on the trailer?
Loved it. I love that punch. That punch was like
I can bring it back up.
best punch, like the best single. Oh, that is the best. You should have gifted. Get the gift. That's the best single frame
After
punch.
the punch, he goes on
Water.
with the follow through
Follow-through.
and continues and
Blows up
punches
a
a
jet.
jet and makes it explode.
It's amazing. That is the best single
That
shot.
shot was very closely followed by this one.
Yeah, that's the
Yes.
money shot too. But that's the best punch we've seen since Matt Damon at the Super Bowl a few years ago. Yeah, that punch was amazing.
All right, Devin, what
And
were
the
your
water
thoughts on it?
just flings off of him. It's like that. He punched him dry.
Physics.
He punched Godzilla dry.
Devin, any thoughts?
Not wet
You'd like to
anymore.
What was that, Dev?
add? He said-
He's not wet
Yeah.
anymore.
All right, Matt, how about you? Let's try
I
that.
gotta fix your audio tomorrow.
Oh,
We'll remote it.
I got more heartbreaking news.
No Rex in Andor.
No,
Did you
no,
spill your used drink?
no, it's still here. My leftover drink is
It's
still
not
here.
used, Dev.
It's
It's leftover.
leftover soda.
I couldn't think of that word.
Leftover soda.
And used was so much
Um,
funnier.
Oh, wait a minute. Aaron done one up in you with leftover water, everybody.
I've been drinking this all day. It's not that
Water.
old.
Leftover water.
What
It's
brand
not
of
leftover
leftover
soda,
water?
but
Giant bottle of
Fiji.
water.
Okay, everybody.
my
Fiji.
Chicago Bulls
How much
came
did you
back.
pay for a bottle of
They
water,
were
Aaron?
down.
Tell
my
us.
Chicago-
Tell the class.
The bad news. My
Hold
Chicago
on, Matt's
Bulls.
sharing bad news. Go ahead.
My Chicago Bulls were down 20-something points and came back and took a 2-point lead. And then fucking Damian Lillard hits a game-winning three-pointer to end it right there. The best way I can compare Kong versus Godzilla at this moment with that punch that Kong sent to Godzilla, ruining all his hopes and dreams that day, was Damian Lillard taking that game-winning three-point shot after a pretty cool comeback by Godzilla as he was destroying some ships.
Oh.
And then there we go. Damian Lillard sucker punching the Chicago Bulls. Ending the game.
And then he dunked on him, and like
He
the
didn't
jet
dunk.
exploded in the background.
I was pretty upset.
Did
But
Ron
no,
Artest?
Ron Artest, that's not his name.
Sorry, Meta World Peace.
Thank you. He's retired, I believe.
Okay.
Or he's still trying to find a job. I don't know. But Kong versus
Everyone's
Godzilla, it was good. Fucking Damian.
No. I think we've lost Matt.
No, he's there. He's just mad. I was gonna say
It was funny. He left.
I'll address a point that Chris is bringing up in the chat. He says, nothing gets me excited about this one. The last one was bad, and Adam Wingard's last few movies haven't been good. It's almost like the last Godzilla with the human having a connection to the monster. Enough with the human stuff. It was boring and unnecessary and dragged both of the Godzillas down.
I don't agree. The stuff with the
You need the
incest
human
was
stuff.
really good.
Okay. I actually disagree with the first Godzilla. I liked the human stuff in the first Godzilla. I didn't think the film was brilliant overall, but I actually, as somebody who isn't, and like this is something me and Nikki have talked about, for myself, as somebody who isn't a big enough Godzilla fan to just be about monsters thrashing things and that giving me enough enjoyment, hence my problem with King of the Monsters. I actually like that they treated the first Godzilla like it was a Jaws film. I liked we didn't see a lot of him till the end. I liked the suspense it brought. I thought Cranston, Watanabe, I thought Taylor Johnson, Olsen, I thought they all did a great job with what they were given. The script wasn't the best, maybe, but I thought they did the best they could with it. And I thought it was a great first big picture for Gareth Evans. King of the Monsters for me was really a scripting. It was just a scripting and direction issue, which it does worry me that Kyle Chandler is one of the ones they brought back, simply because I hated him in King of the Monsters.
Dude, clear eyes, full heart, can't lose.
Is that from Friday Night Lights?
Is it?
I don't know. You quoted it.
I don't know, but he was a bomb squad guy on Grey's Anatomy, and then he blew up.
All right. Well,
irony, people, irony.
So
it's actually more expected, but
I was gonna say I thought it was a direction issue with the last one. Like I thought the problem with the people was just they were either wasted in the writing or they were directed really weirdly.
It was Vera Farmiga.
Like I didn't think she was very. I didn't like Kyle Chandler. I didn't like her. I thought Charles Dance was bland
for sure.
I just see. Here's the thing that I like. This trailer sets up. This trailer, from everything this trailer is setting up, the problem with King of the Monsters is there was a bad human. This trailer doesn't seem to set up that there will be some sort of human bad guy. It just seems like Godzilla's got a vendetta.
You're the bad guy.
Like what happened?
You're the bad guy?
Like it. What's happening here, guys? No one can get a word out. Who wants to go?
Devin spoke.
What'd you say, Devin?
Somebody pissed off Godzilla. That's all I said.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Like that's basically what the trailer perceives. It seems much more simplified this time. Something's pissed off Godzilla. Godzilla's wrecking shit. The humans go, hey, Kong's cool with us. Let's bring Kong in to fight this dude. Like, yeah, I didn't hate the human stuff. I think the human stuff can work if it's well written. Just looking it up offhand to see who was involved, I like a lot of the writers they have on this. Eric Pearson is a writer. He wrote Thor Ragnarok, which I did not think the writing was the issue with that film. I actually thought it was a very well written film.
What writing?
What happened?
I didn't know that was gonna happen. I just grabbed my child. I'm very depressed, and he started making noises, and I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Yeah, it also credits Terry Rossio as a writer. For anyone who doesn't know who Terry Rossio is, he was involved with the writing of a lot of early DreamWorks films. He also wrote some of the Pirates of the Caribbean films. So I can look real quickly.
Yeah. It's relevant. I just asked because if it's 4, we're fucked.
He's credited lead writer on the first 3. He's credited for story on 4 and 5. So that means he wasn't the final person to touch that screenplay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that might be good. I thought the writing in the first 3 were good.
Yeah, and then his other animated credits, he wrote Aladdin. He helped write Men in Black. He helped write Road to El Dorado. He helped write Shrek. So he's got a number of good.
The song or the movie? Men in Black?
Men in Black, the movie.
Show?
Men in Black.
The movie. No, so this trailer excited me. As somebody who isn't into monsters bashing monsters, these are 2 monsters I actually like and want to see. I was a fan of the first Kong film. I liked the first Godzilla film. King of the Monster was cool. I liked seeing other monsters from Godzilla Legacy come in, like Ghidorah or Mothra. But again, as somebody who's not a Godzilla fan, simply bringing them in and being like, look, it's Ghidorah, and fight scene happens. Like that didn't.
And they were
throwaways
too.
No, they were treated as much as throwaways as the 2 original created ones were in the first film.
It was like the Warriors 3 in the Thor movies.
Basically, that's a very good comparison, actually. Yeah. But yeah, so for me, I like this. I don't know. I can't really explain it past that. I think it looks really cool. I like the fact that the visuals look great. There's a lot of issues with films where the visuals in the trailers usually don't look good. I'm okay with waiting for a trailer because we're getting a trailer less than, about 2 months prior to it coming out. I like that we're getting a trailer this close simply because it means they had more time to work and finish the visuals.
And it's a wise production choice. They made wise production choices where one of we see 2 fights where one of them is a city at night,
right?
Which is always good when you're doing big CGI stuff because you have to.
And I like the mood setting of the neon lighting. However they're fighting, I like the mood setting of that.
In water, yeah. Oh,
here. No, keep going. I'll pull up the picture.
Oh. And then in water where there's no landmarks around you so that you can't see, oh, that's a very real building next to a really fake monster. That was my problem with Pacific Rim 2. I don't think they had the problem as much in Pacific Rim 1 because a lot of it was set at night. We canceled the apocalypse at night. But then Pacific Rim 2, everything's during the day, and it looks like shit because you're seeing these very real buildings next to these horrible cartoons.
And even like if I go back to it, if we're talking about lighting, this is clearly during a sunset or sunrise. Like this isn't midday.
It's like Black Hawk Down lighting. It's incredible.
Yeah, no. So I was gonna say, unless anyone has anything else to add, I really like the trailer. I think it could be a good film. I'm gonna do my best to see it in the theater as long as everything works out. This is a movie I don't want to see on HBO Max. And hopefully it's not disappointing like I've heard The Little Things is, because I was looking forward to that one, and apparently it's not the best film. So
what is the line in that movie, Dev? Dev, you've memorized
It's little things that get you, Jimmy. Little things that get you caught.
Because all the spots have that line played over it.
God hear you.
Yeah. And okay, so I was gonna say, if anybody's curious, since it keeps getting brought up, we can touch on the director briefly before we move on. So Adam Wingard is a director who's kind of been very split recently in terms of his filmography. He had a couple of films that did really, really well in terms of the horror thriller films You're Next and The Guest. And then he made the Blair Witch remake, and he made Death Note, which a lot of people weren't so positive to.
That has movie trivia Schmodown the Kid in it.
He does have Brendan Meyer, yeah. Here's the thing. I agree. I think Blair Witch was terrible. I don't know if there's any way around this one. Like I think it's just not good. Like the best I can say about it is that it is better than the second one.
Which fight Mothra in it?
No, the Blair Witch doesn't fight Mothra. The Blair Witch is fighting its camera angles in that film.
Any snot bubbles?
Any what?
Snot bubbles.
No. They're not as creative as
that. Was the star of the first one, wasn't it?
It pretty much was.
Yeah.
Couple of dudes killing a chicken basement.
What?
But yeah, so I was gonna say,
I don't have headphones on, so I can't hear. That's what it is.
As somebody who's seen all four of these films, I actually don't mind it. I think You're Next and I think The Guest are both great films. And I get, contrary to regular opinion, I actually don't think Death Note is all that bad. From everything I've heard, I think it's a case of it's a horrible adaptation of its source material. And I don't honestly think Wingard tried very well to adapt it.
So remind me.
Crammed a bunch of shit into one place.
But as a film itself, the filmmaking, I didn't think it was all that terrible.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Dafoe's pretty good.
Death Note is the one where Willem Dafoe shows up and tells the kid that he wants him to kill Spider-Man, right?
You're not wrong.
You're
not right.
You're part of the way there. Yeah, Willem Dafoe does show up and tell him to kill kids.
Avenge me!
Avenge me! I love that. God, no!
Sorry.
Yeah, do me a favor. Type in all caps "avenge me" and then we'll pull it up on.
No, so I was. So honestly, like, I think Adam Wingard has only in the last few years one really bad film. But I also think that's just a case of he was working in the found footage genre, which is hard to make a good film in anyways. Again, I don't think Death Note as a film is all that poorly made. I think he got decent performances out of his actors, specifically Willem Dafoe and Lakeith Stanfield. I thought they did a great job. And again, I don't think it's a bad film. As somebody who's not an anime fan, I enjoyed it just fine. But it's a case of I can appreciate that it's nowhere near as good as its source material, even as someone who hasn't seen it. Like I can respect that and get why people don't like it.
Oh fuck.
All right. So
I spelled it wrong.
so here we go. I'll go ahead and move on to the second story. And this one's going to be a bit of a long one to read. So we are going to be discussing for the next little bit the stock risings that have been happening with GameStop and AMC theaters.
My.
We'll go ahead and go wide here. And so in order to do this, actually, and I will give credit, former movie Battleground champion Isaac Horvat, for anyone who watches this that remembers that name, still a great guy, posted something on Facebook that he pulled from Reddit, and it was this broken down explanation that I think explains it in the most simplified way that you can get it, to get it across to anyone who may not understand stocks completely, even like myself. I don't know everything about it, and this certainly helped me kind of learn and understand it a bit easier. So I'm going to read through that post and break it down in the kind of the best way possible. But because it's a person breaking down heavy stock-related news, I figured there was only one way we can do this. And so while I am going to be reading this post as myself, the face you will get to look at is as such.
All right.
So please enjoy.
You stole that
Hopefully
Big Short.
I did steal it, and I steal it with pride. Let's do this. All right.
It's the only scene I've seen from The Big Short. I accidentally put it on, like I was flicking through the channels, and it was there, and it was like, here's Margot Robbie explaining it to you.
In a bathtub. Yep.
It works.
It's brilliant. So here we go, guys. So here is that post that breaks down what's happening. So it says, I know at least one of my followers doesn't quite understand what is happening in the stock market right now. And that's enough to motivate me to explain, because this is somewhat a turning point in world history. First, you need to understand what a short in trading is in trading. A short is when you borrow a stock from a broker and sell it immediately at its current price. Then you hope the stock's price falls such that you can buy the stock back at a lower price and return the shares you borrowed to your broker, but keeping the difference. For an easy example, let's say I want to invest in company XYZ, which has a current stock price of $10. I borrow one share and then sell it immediately at a $10 rate. I now have $10, but I owe my broker one share that I borrowed. Then let's say the price of XYZ drops down to 7. I decide to cover, which means buy it back, my short position and buy one share at $7. I return the borrowed share to my broker. I made $10 when I sold it and only had to pay $7 to get it back, meaning I paid off my borrow and made a profit of $3. But now let's say that instead of the XYZ price dropping to a 7, it goes up to a 15. I still need to return the one borrowed share to my broker, except now it's going to cost me a lot more to buy it back. If I buy it back at $15 so I can return the borrowed shares, my losses will be the $5 difference between selling it at 10 and rebuying at 15. Since the price can rise indefinitely, my potential losses as a short seller are unlimited. At some point, I will have to buy it back to return the shares I borrowed. The more the price rises, the bigger my losses will be. Now to explain about GameStop.
Oh my God.
What?
Why didn't you just pull the clip? Oh, we would have gotten flagged, that's why.
This isn't the same thing. She was explaining stock market
It was so
investments in terms of housing.
You should have contacted me. I could have.
Now for GameStop. A few weeks ago, a Redditor on Reddit / Wall Street's Bets noticed that a hedge fund had taken a massive amount of short trades against GameStop. They convinced everyone on the thread to join forces and buy as much GameStop stock as possible. This made the price rise and the hedge fund's short positions start to lose billions. Their losses even surpassed the $13.1 billion that the hedge fund was worth. Eventually, the hedge fund that made the initial investments had to close their short positions and buy all the GameStop stock back at a much higher price, sending the price even higher. This is called a short squeeze. Now the hedge fund is declaring bankruptcy, and the Reddit thread is combing through other hedge funds with massive short exposure so that they can short squeeze them into bankruptcy as well, like what we began to see happening with AMC. All of Wall Street is saying that the public joining together in this fashion should be illegal, but really they're just losing at their own game to the masses. All right, and we are joined in the middle of that by Mr. Grant. How you doing, man?
Going good, everyone. Happy to be here. What a story to jump in on.
Yeah, right. You got in on the conversation. First off, if you want to briefly, we talked about the Kong trailer. Any thoughts on it, or you want to go straight into this?
One quick thing. When did Kong gain 3 times his height? Two, is the axe made out of part of Godzilla's spine? Because it looks like he was able to actually control the beam. And three, is Godzilla the bad guy? Apart from that, yeah, it reminded me of Batman vs Superman a lot.
He grew up.
All right,
Yes,
to,
and
yes.
yes.
There's a 1%
Yeah, I was
chance
gonna say.
we need to take it as an absolute certainty, Grant, and we need to kill him.
I was gonna say
if they fight and they crash together and everything, and he yells out
Right.
"Save Mothra," and then they become friends, and, I can get it.
So Kong's previous movie took
He was a
place in
teenager.
the 70s or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was a
grew
while
in the
ago, and
90s,
he
like
wasn't done growing.
Okay.
He grew up
Yeah.
a little bit.
they
And now
actually
the axe
not to cut you off. They went so far as to say that they didn't establish it in the film, and I think even the people who wrote it said that was an error on us. Kong and Kong Skull Island was meant to be like teenager age Kong. He is not an aged Kong.
Okay.
But
Sorry,
the,
Devin, continue.
the axe thing.
And the axe is literally one of Godzilla's scales. Like the spine's going down his back,
Like a nuclear
ripped out, stuck on a big ass stick, and used as an axe.
If we could
And the
harness
third
that
point-
material,
And then the third question: somebody pissed off Godzilla. We're gonna find out what happened in this movie.
Well,
Do you
you
think they're going to team up at the end and fight like a Mecha Godzilla or something?
yeah. See, the big spoiler of the movie is that Groot actually puts together the Godzilla scale axe with his arm. So that's probably what pissed him off. Is somebody tried to make Stormbreaker out of his back. So
Probably Ant-Man is the only one that could be big enough to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will go on to the next one. That's just what I thought.
No. So, all right. So, who wants to hop in on this one first? Because this is certainly, it's actually interesting that you're on here, Grant. You've been on for all the fun discussion ones.
I don't.
Every
think-
time there's an HBO Max thing, you've been on the last few weeks, and now you're here for stockbroker talk.
Oh, and they did
Well,
back on the Kong versus Godzilla. Though we didn't mention that they did settle. Following up on the story from a few weeks ago, they did settle.
Oh, it was in one of the ones that got missed last week. I did mention it last week.
So basically, what happened is
Yeah,
they paid Legendary what Netflix was going to pay them. I think it was.
Yep, they paid them what they wanted.
So
$250.
everybody wins. Good job.
Now, I was going to say the brief mention was the report that came out last week that they settled didn't mention Dune, so that may still potentially be an issue because Legendary was pushing for theater only.
Mhm.
So that could still be an issue, but that's an October thing. They'll get that figured out.
Right.
But yeah,
Well,
so this
Denis Villeneuve hasn't made any statements whatsoever about anything, which means
Grant.
last time he did that was when they were still in negotiations and stuff. So I'm assuming it's the same thing.
But
Yeah.
is it Danny Villeneuve or Danny Villeneuve?
Yes,
yes,
Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Dune or Dune?
the correct way.
just say Denis Villeneuve. Just
Is
say
it
Denis
Or-
Villeneuve.
Or just
Everyone
call
knows
him
what
what my
I'm talking-
dad calls him. Dennis Villeneuve.
Villeneuve, yeah.
I mean, we
Villeneuve.
said
That's
on a couple months ago.
Denny V.
Sounds like-
Denny V.
Sounds like a Spanish surfer.
that's he's like that's the
Yeah,
correct
you-
way to
you
say
take a
it.
whack at it.
It's like Denis Villeneuve. That's how you say it. But my dad's
It's
like,
Denis
no,
V,
it's
everyone knows that.
Denis
Dennis
Villeneuve.
Denny Villeneuve.
Dennis
He's like, that's the
Villeneuve.
correct way. Everybody's wrong. And I had to play him a video of
Oh,
Denny saying it, and he's like, nope, it's Villeneuve. He got it wrong
Did you-
that time.
Gyllenhaal saying his name.
Huh?
Did you see? It's a video of Jake Gyllenhaal saying his name. It's actually
Oh.
Gyllenhaal.
Yeohan. Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
he was on Conan and he said that.
That's how he
Gyllenhaal.
says it. That's true. Stocks now. So I actually
Yes.
love. I'll tell you what. I don't know what else we're talking about today. But stocks are like my favorite
it?
thing to talk about. From like, I like talking about it more than films and whatnot.
The rest of
So-
the topics aren't stock related to
Stokes.
disappoint you. This is
So
the only
this is well, you son of a bitch.
They could have stocks in those movies.
Keep it in mind. I already made an active effort to look at TV news this week because I was told
Yeah.
that's something I was failing on. So I guess I'll have to input stocks too.
Yeah, we got stocks. Look, stocks is something I like a lot. So for those who
If you like stocks so much, why don't you
are,
marry?
like, wait, what?
If you like stocks so much, why don't you marry them?
I did. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but when it comes to the stocks, but like Robinhood was one, for example, Webull, everybody, they were not allowing you to buy AMC stock on Thursday or GameStop, and I think they were trying to stop Nokia for a little bit because but everybody's plan, their goal was to have GameStop be $1,000 per stock. That's what people were trying to get it to. So they stopped letting people buy it, which is illegal to do, by the way. It's illegal. It's supposed to be a free market. There's laws in there, and that goes against the law.
It's supposed to be a free country too, but it's not.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a free country. So we're supposed to be like capitalism, all that stuff, but the capital was
how much
already
we
purchased. Huh?
Grant, tell us how much we suck.
He's the only one that's not American, so it's
Grant's away from the phone for a second, so he'll be back.
Like,
I can't come to the phone right now, but can we take a message?
So they were trying to stop people from selling it and causing the price to go up because I believe Monday they have to pay the people where they borrowed the stocks from back. And if they don't pay, obviously they get in trouble. So instead of making, billions, in total from every, person that's doing this, now they have to pay the difference back. Because, it was already kind of a scumbaggy thing to do where it's like, okay, you know what, we'll raise the price up and then, or we'll buy and make sure it goes down and sell then because that's, how we'll get them and that's how we'll make our money. But it's obviously not good for the businesses that's affecting. And to be fair, I'm sure this is going to have some impact on our economy. Like if GameStop is going to be like $1,000 a purchase, it's going to, it's going to affect. It won't get there, but this is going to affect the economy big time.
How will that affect the GameStop exclusives that I like to buy?
I don't know, but but all I do know is this will have some effect on on the economy in general. But for the time being, I think it's really nice to see that just like an everyday person making thousands and thousands of dollars. There was a kid who literally made $15 million on his GameStop stock. $15 million. He had, to be fair, he didn't have like 100 stocks. He had $50,000 worth of stock. I don't know why he would put all the money into GameStop before this whole thing exploded.
That
But
man's
He
a
clearly
vision.
had insider trading knowledge.
right,
He was in charge of their
He knew.
subreddit.
he was from Australia. He knew it was going to go up. But there are people like paying off their school loans and whatnot. So I think that was pretty cool. And the funny thing was when they were not allowing people to buy stocks for a while and they were trying to limit people, which they were limiting on Robinhood, but GameStop still went up to around what it was before it took a nosedive. So if there was no limits, it probably would have went to $500. But when they were not allowing people to buy any at all, people went to Dogecoin, and Dogecoin was made to be a joke. It was worth like $0 and 0.0000001 and it got up to 90 cents, which isn't 90 cents isn't a lot, like if you have one, but still, like if you bought it when it was like that point zero 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 one,
less than a cent.
like if you put in a $1 or $10 or whatever, you might have $1 million from Dogecoin. Like that's the funny thing. And of course now it's taking a dive because people are buying AMC again.
I got money this week because of AMC. I sold a couple of the AMC shares.
I sold I think 12.
There's a guy
but they
on the
were
radio
And gave me the money. So
that mentioned that he had put $500 into Dogecoin.
Oh god.
He was saying it wrong.
Yeah.
And he knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
But he did it when it was, I think, 2 cents.
Okay.
For,
Jesus Christ.
so
50,000.
he's probably gonna mention that he made some money on it.
Oh yeah.
The next time I listen to the radio.
I hope he sold before it went back down.
It's like he says Dogecoin and Sam
Sounds
Elliott.
No, he said Doja coin.
Oh shit.
It was like me a fair few years ago when I first bought Bitcoin, and I bought them for $18
nice.
a coin, and then sold them when they were 32, and I had 10 of them. I'm like, it's
Oh,
never going to get better than this.
and now it's like $30-something thousand for
Yeah,
one.
I looked at it. The highest that it peaked, like for Australian, was 42,000 Australian dollars per coin.
Well, Elon Musk put Bitcoin in his bio on Twitter, and it flew up. And I do want to say this because we need to say this. Don't listen to any of us when it comes to stocks. We're not professionals.
No.
Because apparently if we don't say that at all and somebody actually goes, oh, I'm going to buy AMC and then buys it and then it goes down, we could get sued. And, I'm not really into the idea of being sued. So don't take our advice.
We are not
At all?
advising anybody. Here, I'll do a statement. We here at After Dark are not advising you to invest in any kind of stock at all. We are just reporting on other people's investments.
Yes. We're just throwing our 2 cents in
Exactly.
there. We're throwing our 2 cents in there. If you want to go by our 2 cents, that's your choice, but don't listen to us.
But
I will
a lot
say-
of money.
I was going to say, as somebody who knows very little about the stock market, admittedly, I've learned little things here and there, and I've had friends that have done Bitcoin investment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I've learned little things here or there. But as somebody who saw this, what I also liked about it is because it's not the people doing this weren't brokers, right? They weren't professional brokers that were like fighting back against them. These are just the common people. And I was seeing reports like in my area of like GameStops that were having no business all of a sudden had people going to GameStop and buying things just out of a simple, there was this like save GameStop mentality that happened. And I think that's awesome because as somebody who has bought a lot of physical media over the years, I've always liked GameStop. They buy your shit back for nothing, but so does everybody else. So it's like, gaming unfortunately is a low return hobby. You can't have something and get rid of it. You pay $60, you better hope you get $60 worth of investment out of it.
Yeah.
But
I wish I only paid $60
Unless you
for
play
the
it in a
game.
week and sell it.
You
That's
wish
why
what?
it's so much better.
No.
say what you said, Grant?
I said I wish I only paid $60, even with the exchange rate. With
How much
what
is it for you?
I,
Australia
we-
has crazy rates. I've heard that, right?
Yeah, it's like
yeah, we
double.
pay 100 to 110 just for a new one. So if you get a special edition thing, it's about $130.
Oh no, fuck that shit. No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
and because
over
like
here,
our dollar at the moment is only trading 80 cents to yours, so that's the
Oh,
equivalent of
God.
you paying,
Oh.
for what we should be paying would be $75.
yeah, and there
Um,
are some game companies that have tried to use the new consoles to bump up their games to 70. It hasn't worked very well thus far. I think probably the most successful was maybe NBA, and even that got backlash because people went, "It's the same game
It's
every
logic
year.
dropped.
Like, how much
Well-
more can you get out of us?"
I'm not too sure what it's like in the States, but even when I had a PlayStation 1, every game started off like the high end brand new games that come out, they were always $100, and it's been that way for 20 odd years. So
I was gonna say
the price hasn't really changed all that much except with the last generation.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, from what I can remember, because I only, obviously, we're a different age. I only started playing games around the 360 PS3 era.
Yeah.
And from what I can remember, everything's always been about $60 US bucks here generally. Some games will go for a little less if there's like clearly less content. Some games will try and market themselves a bit more. And then obviously, I don't know how much they do it. I don't know how much they do it
I
over
was specifically
there.
talking about like your AAA, your major releases.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
generally 60, and then I'd say in the last 10 years we have seen more and more here as well of the. But here they'll do like 4 different combo packs, like to go to a game that I play just because I like soccer or football for you, FIFA. They'll do like $60 base release, and then they'll be like buy the $70 version and get this little bonus on Ultimate Team, or buy the $80 version and get this little bonus and this little bonus on Ultimate Team, or buy the $120 version and get all of the little bonuses. And it's like, you assholes are pre-selling me shit before I even buy.
Mostly kids that are playing these games too.
What happened?
Well, not most, but a lot of kids. And
And trust me, that I'm sure, Grant, if you know anything about gaming, I'm sure you've seen all the reports as well of the cases in Europe over the FIFA and NBA and the gambling stuff. Like, it's ridiculous.
When they do the in-game purchases and that sort of stuff and the loot boxes.
Yeah.
It's essentially the EA model.
Yeah.
I mean, re-release the same game every year.
Sports. It's in the game.
And I was one of the people that actually liked the Battlefront 2.
It's more like EA Sports. The game's in your mom's wallet.
It's not the only thing in your mom's wallet, if I know what you mean. Magnum by Trojan. Official sponsor of TMG.
Hold up. In this relationship, why is the mom carrying the condoms?
Because...
Well, it actually goes back to
or through the snow.
It's an actual advertising trope from the 90s that you when it comes to showing the family dynamic and everything, the mother has to be the one that's in charge. And that's why you'll always see a hot mum with a really dumb. They call it in the advertising they call it the Simpsons effect. So you have a really dumb male and a really hot mum who's actually the smart one, who's basically she's just another mother to him. And it's a trope that's been in advertising, and that since the early 90s.
Essentially what Bill and Ted did twice.
No, it's because I get to the store.
Except that one came with an age difference. But I mean, she was clearly smarter than both of those guys.
But I mean, that was the thing. That's another thing. I mean, that's getting back into the advertising sort of thing. So, but yeah.
Yeah. No.
They could sponsor us. They could.
They could what?
They could sponsor us. That company that makes the big condoms.
Magnum?
Yeah.
Leaving Magnums and going back to stockbroking, 2 very different things. You don't want condoms to break. Again, as somebody who doesn't know anything about stocks, I just think it's cool to see the community that's kind of come around GameStop. Like, I get why people have consumerism issues with them, but I've always found that even if the company has issues in and of itself, which, over the last year or 2, it seems like they really have taken steps to try and improve some of that, bringing in creative input or bringing in people to creative positions from outside of the gaming industry, taking a different approach to how they run their operation.
They sell a lot of toys now.
Yeah, and even pre-COVID, they were there was word that they were going to try and take some of their stores and convert them and test the idea of doing like a bookstore type thing with them, where it could be a place where you could go in and buy games, but you could also go in and sit down and play some trial games on a console they have set up for you, and you can sit there and talk with friends and look at merch items and read comic books potentially. And they wanted to turn it into a more just a nerd hangout place than just a place that sells games. And yes, Nikki's right. Their merch sales have gone up considerably over the last few years since they started selling stuff, especially with like Funko Pops and stuff like that.
I've got a couple.
Not only that, Toys R Us with them cutting down on anything. There's a lot of that sort of stuff that's going on
absolutely.
with that.
I think the problem. All right, yeah. I was just going to say, they were clearly trying to take steps to improve their business in any sort of way. And as somebody who throughout most of my life has only been to 1 or 2 GameStops, just the 2 that are near me, I don't really go anywhere else. I've always found the employees to be the employees that work in the stores themselves aren't the issue. For the most part, they're usually very nice and good and very knowledgeable about what they're there for. So I just think it's interesting to see the community that surrounded it to really try and help bound back GameStop, especially after, the obvious of, a bunch of pricks who wanted money for coke and hookers were trying to snort them out basically and get rid of them. Go ahead, Grant. Sorry.
Was GameStop where they had the it's ma'am meme lady person?
It's man.
No,
for what?
The kid was saying sir, and then the the lady was like, "It's ma'am," and it was a guy who transitioned.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't a GameStop. Yes.
That was GameStop.
All right.
Okay, yeah, because
One
we don't
bad
have
mark,
we don't
one
have them
bad
out.
mark.
I don't know.
But anyway, as I was getting to back to, I think the biggest problem with this, it's a tiny little battle in a war that we're never going to win, because we don't have any lobbyists or anything like that. And the fact of the matter is, you got people putting the stimulus checks into it to get this. They've stopped the trading with a lot of the stuff, so that money's going to freeze. The Wall Street and everything, they're going to get their money back. The stock's going to plummet, and then everyone else is going to be left with a scrap.
Mhm.
They don't. No one has the resources to be able to do what they could do. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter whether it's Republican or Democrat. They're all beholden to Wall Street.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
And I think this
The
is
only
the
way-
problem. You're going to see. It's a great little
That's why I want a
victory.
foreign president. You need to amend that.
I can't run, Nikki. As much as you keep endorsing me, I refuse to run.
You don't want to live here for
I
7
just
years.
think there's.
Grant?
I mean, there's
It's all
the
fakes.
fact of the matter is also you're taking the people who are doing it, and boosting stuff up. The people who has the trust funds and all the other things. That's people's retirement money. That the guy said he lost $3 billion from the company. I mean, that's $3 billion of money. That's not even his. That's people who have invested and worked their life to put money into it. And now because of a few individuals have done that. I mean, if they come out and said something like that, it would have made more sense to it. But I think in the long run, you don't have the power to be able to do it. It's a start, and I think it's gotten the knowledge of the people, and the awareness of what's going on with it. And I think that's where it starts. But there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be out of a lot of the money within the next month. And this won't happen on this scale again because of the result that's going to happen, because they've got all the power.
The only way
I meant
that
Max Lord. I'm sorry. Not
No.
actor Pedro Pascal, Maxwell Lord. He was
Right.
getting the sucker investors to do it,
Mhm.
but you don't know.
No,
He could
that was a
doing
Ponzi
it
scheme.
today.
That's different. That's getting
yeah,
people
that's a
Yeah.
to
Ponzi scheme.
invest, and then you're
Yeah,
paying off your previous investors. That's different.
Life is good.
I
But it
yeah,
can be
I
bad.
will say, I will say for
And that
the
movie could have been
people-
too.
the people that are and have
Ow, chug
AMC
it,
right
Grant.
now, the people that have AMC, GameStop, all that stuff that plan on selling at some point, sell Monday morning as soon as it
Yeah,
opens,
stock.
because that's when it's going to shoot up. So you're going to, if you sell right there, the value is going to fly up. I don't know what the pre-market is, but it could get crazy for some of
I
these.
wait.
Sell
It could, but-
instantly, because it's going to crash down.
It's gonna
gonna
crash.
come down.
And
Because
this
that's
is from
when-
someone who sold something way too early.
Having
Still
the stock.
saying sell early because it's not worth
That's when
it.
hedge funds have to be paid or whatever. The shorts, that's when it all has to be
I
paid
mean-
this Monday.
For me, just from my perspective, I'm gonna keep it till the next Avengers movie comes out.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to keep it just to,
Yeah.
Yeah,
own part of it,
I
then
already
go
made my
ahead,
profit
but-
here.
If you're
I'm
in this,
good with my 60 to $70 I got.
if you're in this just to own shares and keep the business alive, that's one thing. But if you are in this to make a quick buck, again, TMG does not authorize any
Yeah.
information or advice we are giving you.
Yep.
But odds are your best bet is to sell quick, because I was going to say, we can move on in a minute unless anyone else has anything to add, but I think the only way something like this could have worked is if there was some kind of government backing, because Matt said it earlier before we went live, and he's absolutely right. Legally speaking, there isn't a law that says these companies can block it like this. It's supposed to be free and open public trade, but they're being allowed to get away with blocking the purchases of these things.
There's no penalty. Yeah.
Unless the government steps in and intervenes, which
Yeah.
I don't think they
We're
will,
still a little
because they're
busy now.
they can barely figure out the actual pressing issues. They're not going to intervene in this. There's no way this ends well for the people who invested. It was a great movement, and I think it shows that consumers are ready to protect the businesses they care about if given the opportunity. I just don't think they had the right backing this time around.
It
And
did
I
more
will
in one day than Wall Street 1.0 did.
True.
Yeah.
Now, I will say with AMC, they did it smart. I believe they took advantage of the opportunity and they were able to make $600 million. Like, I think they're either almost out of debt or they're completely out of debt now, because they got $900 something million before all this happened, and then they got another 600 million with this. So I don't know how much debt they were in. I'll look that up right now. But
They
if
were in
he's
good
got him out
amount.
of debt, then this really does help him.
True. I agree with that.
That's good.
So I was gonna say, unless you guys have anything to add, we can go ahead and move on.
So AMC, it looks like, was in 1.3
That sounds right.
billion dollars in debt, which, if that's correct, or wasn't, if that's correct, they are out by like 200 million.
Good job.
But bankruptcy is completely out off the table. And that was before any of this really kicked off. And
Kicked
they got
off.
that
This
600.
is
Yeah, sorry. Were you
this
just saying
is
that
gonna
it was about? It was one. I think it was 1.326. They were in debt.
Yeah.
They got I think it was 600 from the. Do they have to pay that back to the government, or is that just the?
I think they're taking the 600 and just applying it to the debt overall. I think that's all they're doing. I don't think
So that would be about 150 to 200 million ahead then.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Wow.
Yeah, they're in a good position. Which all AMC can hope for now is that, hopefully, depending on how vaccinations continue to go, with the, not to get too political before we move on, but with the presidential shift on the outset, it seems like Biden very quickly wants to get to distributing vaccinations quicker.
Yeah.
Again, how that goes is one thing, and how successful these are at holding things back and allowing people more freedom is a completely separate situation. But there's clear intent there. And so that can only hope that, when these films get to going again, it'll be easier and people will feel a little safer to get back into those theaters and start watching them. And that's where the money will come,
Mhm.
Yeah, we've hit the golden age of blockbusters. Unfortunately, I think the fact of the matter is that this is going to be good for the industry because the money is going to be a lot less in there because they can't afford it. It's going to force people to be way more creative instead of just relying on, CGI houses to sort everything else out in post. So I think for film, it's a good thing. I'm a huge blockbuster fan, so it sucks. I mean, that was me and the missus. That's how we, that was all of our date night. Was going to the theaters and everything like that and discussing film. So we love it. But I think it doesn't matter who was the president. I don't think it was going to make a difference to how the theaters are going to start refilling, because the fact of the matter is, it's not who's in power. It's the fact of the matter is, it's the everyday people that are going to go, yeah, I still don't think I want to risk it.
No, you're right. And that's what I'm saying is everything is prospectal, right? I think, and no matter what your political stance is, and that's why I leave it out of it, I think most people would agree in terms of simply vaccination distribution and vaccination production. Biden seems a little more ahead of the game than Trump was on wanting to do it quicker. All the other variables are completely either up in the air or out of his control. And so how it actually goes, we will see. So it's just a matter of how much does an individual studio or person lean into one possible shred of good light, basically. But I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there's still a lot of other cards on this table that could affect how this goes. So speaking of the film industry and big blockbusters that cover up a lot of things in CGI, there was a lot of little bits of Marvel. What happened?
Devin was like, he was leaning over and he was about to move his mouth, and then he started talking about something else, and he looked so sad. Did you have
sorry, go ahead.
A friend of mine already got the vaccine.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, great.
Woo-hoo.
Good for you.
So I was going to
Coming
say, speaking of blockbusters and films that cover things in CGI, we had a bunch of little pieces of Marvel news come out this week. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that in general. Also, any general WandaVision talk can come up at this point. So we'll probably be here for a little bit. But unless you haven't seen it, Grant, have you seen it?
Oh, I've seen it.
Okay, well, that said everything. All right, we'll go ahead. Do that. This is why I pre-record these things. There's a lot less work that way.
Fuck, we'll do it live.
That's what it is this week. I had everything down, including practicing for the videos, and just never got a chance to record them. So That's what we're
Oh,
doing.
sorry. I thought you pre-recorded you and Nikki arguing in the last one. I thought that's pretty funny. I thought it was pre-recorded.
No, but
All
the
right.
soda is left over.
All right, guys. So here we go. We'll go ahead and get into this. This is, as the banner there says, the third story. Let me get it up. Here we go. All right. Professionalism.
Sure.
We're going to go ahead and get into all the Marvel news that we have happening this week. And before getting to the endless list of Spider-Man rumors, we're going to go ahead and start with this one. Thor: Love and Thunder began production in Australia this week, and we can officially now also call the film as Guardians of the Galaxy. Over the last few weeks, I've been reporting one by one as members slowly make their way to Australia to film, with most of the cast seemingly there. This week, we got our last anticipated confirmation as actor Sean Gunn confirmed with a picture in front of the Sydney Opera House that he is, in fact, in Australia and out of quarantine. The actor is known in the MCU for portraying both the character of Kraglin and being the physical actor for Rocket and in the Guardians films and in the Avengers films. Is the last piece of the Guardians team that needs to be confirmed for the film. We will get to see the Guardians alongside Thor in Thor: Love and Thunder when it releases on May 6th, 2022. While doing press interviews for WandaVision, writer and creator Jock Schaefer was asked about the prospects of a season 2, especially on the heels of shows like Loki and What If getting second seasons ahead of their airings. Paraphrasing the quote Schaefer gave to The Hollywood Reporter, Schaefer said that while she'd be excited to come back for a season 2, the story she wrote is a completed story for the arc she wanted to tell and will wrap up in a way that while Wanda will be expanded later on, the story will be finished by episode 9, and that a season 2 will only happen if Kevin Feige deems it fit. WandaVision is currently airing week by week on Fridays, with the first 4 episodes live now. All right, moving on to the news from, as I'm going to continue calling it till we have a title, Spider-Man Home Pun. After numerous rumors over the last few months have leaked over who could possibly be in the eclectic cast of this film, last week we had a potential plot leak come out, which I will not be talking about due to the fact that if it does in fact become true, it will spoil the film. We did get more rumors out of that plot leak. While doing promo for WandaVision, Elizabeth Olsen was asked about the rumors of her appearing in the film, thanks off this plot leak, also due to the connections between WandaVision, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which she will also appear in. Despite showing interest at the idea, she said to Capital FM in an interview that no one from Marvel has reached out to her about bringing her to set, and considering how long they've been filming, she assumes she will not be brought in. Another actor who was rumored from this plot leak was Dane DeHaan, as returning as Harry Osborn from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The rumor originally first began on the heels of Jamie Foxx being casted and Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone being rumored, with this plot leak mentioning his name and adding further fuel to the fire. DeHaan, in an interview with Radio Times, confirmed that any rumors about his return are false and indicated that he wouldn't have any interest in returning. This lines up with DeHaan's career choices, as he's mostly stayed away from the bigger budget production since the film, with the one exception being Luc Besson's Valerian. For any Dane DeHaan fans, his most recent projects include The Kid, a 2019 Western, and his series 000, an Amazon original show which aired earlier this year. And finally, while doing press for WandaVision, Catherine Hahn was asked about a different Marvel project of hers, a sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. When asked if she could be returning in her role of Olivia Octavius, Hahn said that while she hadn't been contacted about it yet, she would love to return if asked, and was proud of her work on the first film. Octavius was last shown being smacked by a truck in the first film, but was never actually shown as dead, with news coming out when the film was released that there was a scene showing her death by way of combusted portal that had been deleted. While the film only has 2 confirmed voice actors, with Shameik Moore and Haley Steinfeld returning, neither of them have recorded their dialogue yet, nor has anybody else. The film is in active animation production, set for a release date of October 7th, 2022. All right, there we go.
Damn.
That's everything Marvel out there. Just wanted to get it out of the way, make it one long story.
You did miss one story.
I mean, that's, in all fairness, that's longer than a WandaVision episode.
No, I know, but Aaron, you did miss the story about Vision's vibranium.
Oh, fuck off. Vision nearly had a penis. Go ahead and talk. Whatever you guys want.
So Vision's penis, I think, is a missed opportunity.
Vibrator?
And we could have had the comparisons between Vision and Dr. Manhattan. Devin, you have the same thoughts about this. So, tell me, what do you think about Vision's penis?
Why did you go to me? Of all people?
Because you're there, and I wanted to make you uncomfortable.
Avengers said when Vision's penis walks up to them. Why did you
So
come to me?
Wanda turns around, and instead of a hole in Vision's head, it's just a penis.
Jesus.
So are you calling Vision? Are you calling Vision a
There's
dickhead?
a child here.
She would be
You
like, oh.
probably can't hear because headphones, but
Penises
whatever.
are
No headphones. It's all right.
a part.
So,
Oh,
I
my
got
God. Okay.
Wasted
All right. Where do
opportunity.
we start? Do we start with WandaVision? Where do we?
Wherever, yeah, if you want to go, Grant, any
All
of
right.
them. There's 5 little tidbits
I-
there and a WandaVision episode, so we can go wherever you like.
She a fan of Wanda's.
I've got to say that I think what they're doing with WandaVision, I'm enjoying purely and simply for the fact that apart from this last episode, it hasn't felt like an MCU thing, but it ties into it, which I think is great. I think it's a good, smart direction that they're going with. They're dropping a huge amount of Easter eggs, if you know certain
The
things.
Hydra
Like
soap.
the fact of the matter is that Agnes hasn't been named is for a very specific reason. They haven't identified her because she's the right hand man of Mephisto. Agatha Harkness. You take the first part of her name and the last part of her name, squish it together. Agatha Harkness. You get Agnes. She wears the same pendant. They've been showing a lot of stuff with her. She's fully aware of what's going on. She's the gatekeeper. Wanda, I do not believe is in full control. I think she's in control of the illusion, but not the fact that people track there. It's taking a lot of stuff from Disassembled, from House of M. They're reading into the source material and interpreting it in a very clever and fun way. I think that you need to watch the episodes episodically. If you binge watch them, you don't get any of the benefit of the afterthought of each one.
Yeah. You're right. I do think the show has done a good job thus far of really making you think. I think it does a good job of, because even then, like, I've liked 3 of the 4 episodes. If I'm being honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of the 3rd episode, just in its sitcom plot. I wasn't a huge fan of the gimmicks they were doing with the rushed pregnancy bit. But I love the ending, and I love that every single episode wraps itself up like a sitcom would in 22 minutes, but then leaves you with that little bit of, okay, there's clearly something bigger happening here, and we're just going to tease you along the way as we get there.
I've got a question for you. With all the time reset, do you think Wanda is aware? She said when the guy came out of the thing, and she said no, and then when when Vision turned around and said there's something wrong and it resets, she's acting the same way. We're assuming that she knows, but we've been given no indication of any of the time resets or anything that happens that she's actually aware of that it happened.
I think what's happening is, at least on her end, again, whether or not there's something bigger happening, the Agatha Harkness thing I've heard a lot, and it could make sense, but I don't know enough about the character to really think about it in that way. I think you're exactly right. I think it's that she's creating this reality for herself to really do her best to try and forget everything that's happened. Because one of the things I actually did like
a repressed memory type thing.
One of the things that I liked in the 4th episode is they didn't do it directly, but they mentioned that the show is set only 3 weeks after Endgame. So realistically,
no, it wasn't set 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks when she went back to work. They didn't establish how long it was between then and when she went in there, and how long it took the establishment to get up.
That's what the line was saying. It's been 3 weeks since everyone came back. You're the first person to report back.
Yeah. And this is the job that she had to do. But remember, she got sucked in. We have no idea how long she was in there and how long it took Sword and everyone to gather all these people.
It was a day.
Could be a week. It could be a month. We don't know.
It says
it says 24 hours later.
Or 24 hours later. Yeah, they brought in a whole SHIELD team and everything, and it was so there was like.
I must have missed 24. I've only watched that episode. That's probably on me then.
Well, here's the thing: the 24 hours later happens when
the 24 hours later is when they're picking them up in the truck, but it's not when everything's fully established and we're back to where we are now.
Right. So there is an unspecified time jump there.
Because she's been watching this show for a while. Not just 1 or 2 episodes.
Well, what I was trying to get at there was
and there are more episodes than we've been shown. That's another.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I noticed
yeah.
that
Well,
on the
so-
TVs
Because
there were
they have
extra scenes that we
writing
hadn't
on there
seen yet.
where it says what's his name, Vision talked to the David Schwimmer looking character about his father. It's written there on the thing. Vision and him discussed that for that episode, and we don't see that one. So
what I was trying to get to before, where I was going with that was, we know that in the span of 3 weeks or less, Wanda fought in one war, lost Vision, got killed. Again, and we saw in the opening of this episode, to these people, it's immediate. Like, there's no concept of a time jump for them. Monica woke up and immediately went, "Oh, where's my mom? Where'd you move her to?" There was no grasp of concept of she's dead.
No.
Like, there was
I
nothing.
thought she took
I
a
think
nap.
that's because she was just asleep.
I
and she
mean,
napped.
And so
that doctor had terrible bedside manner, by the way.
Yeah.
fair enough. But
Oh, you
so
think? I
what-
thought she was
what I-
pretty good.
So what I was trying to get at is, in the span of 3 weeks, Wanda fought 2 wars, lost Vision twice. She watched him die twice, once by her hand and once by Thanos. Died, came back, and then lost her shit so much that she went into this regressive state. I absolutely believe she knows what's happening, because that's where the initial question came from. Because she is time rewinding at those moments, but she's trying to create this.
We don't know that it's her though.
No, we don't know.
She has some sort of control, but we don't know that it's physically her doing it. The only thing that we know that she did was she fixed the thing.
Everything
this
that
is-
we don't
this
know. It's all implied, though. It's very implied.
That's
But
what
we
I'm
don't
saying.
know.
Yeah,
And also, I think they're doing a little bit of a bait switch. When Rambeau got thrown at the end, she said it's all Wanda. If it is all her, they're not revealing that with 5 episodes to
It's
go.
not all
No,
wrong.
you're right about that. There's something else affecting, or in the event that it is all Wanda, there is something deeper happening with Wanda than just this. There's definitely something deeper there.
I think it's
And I was talking about this with Nikki before the show. I'm going to keep watching, obviously, because I think they put out good content, and I think overall this show has been really good so far. It's a good first step into shows for the MCU officially. As somebody who's not a comic fan, like I hate the idea that every single thing has to be something that goes deeper, or we were talking about Sword, every single thing has to tie into something. So, like, to me, it's like the way that I view it through the prism of now is that's Wanda controlling it. Sure, something deeper could be happening, but I hate that, and this is not me going against either of you two, because you know more about comics than I do, so you might have that internal, like, okay, I can connect this to this that I don't have, but I just hate how everything has to come with well, this is what they're showing us, but this is actually what's happening. Like, I hate that's
if I may add just a small interjection, I think that's gonna, whether it's comics or not, but the fact of the matter is this is a part of a shared universe.
No, you're right.
It all has to have some sort of tie-in, and if there's a source material behind the initial tie-in, obviously it's going to go back. It's going to go back to that, because that's where they're getting their ideas from. It is a new IP that has stems from other stuff. So,
Aaron, last week, and Matt, I think we may have mentioned this last week, but I know me and Devin talked about this. The math of the episodes, how there were 9 episodes, but with the decade that they were starting in. So, like, this week, we didn't cover a specific decade. We did all outside world Sword stuff. So,
and what was it called? We interrupt this program or something.
Yeah, we interrupt. I thought the title was brilliant.
I like that. I thought that was good.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the decades that they're flipping through, how each episode is its
50,
own.
60, 70
I
is
think
what we
that tells
covered
us
so
that,
far.
like, they'll go through these different segments, and then, like, the last 2 episodes, 1 episode here or there, it's gonna end in the real world.
I don't know. I just want to see Vision as Al Bundy and her dressed up as Peggy. So I think from Married with Children, I think that would be hilarious.
It's basically Weekend at Bernie's, but with Vision.
Yeah, which I was gonna say, this is just because people have talked about the details in the show. I'll have to look it up to get it right.
We're in the details, honey.
Can I just say, I love the episode titling for these episodes. Like the first episode, filmed before a live studio audience. Episode 3 was Now in Color, and then this one was We Interrupt This Program. I love that, like the little TV references. I also think at first I questioned the choice, just because I didn't know how heavy in one direction the show was going. But I have to give a lot of credit to the director, Matt Shackman. Before doing this show, he basically only did comedies or sitcom or that type of thing. He's done a great job with this show so
And I think
far.
it benefits him doing every episode too.
Jackman has shined to the point
No,
where when I initially heard about it, I was completely skeptical, and now I'm 100% on board.
Yeah, he's done a great job.
Whatever his next project is, I'm in.
Yeah, I think he's done a really great job. And I should correct myself. Most of his work has been in comedy. He has done other stuff outside of it. I think I saw he directed an episode of Game of Thrones or something, but most of his work has been within comedy.
That's actually my biggest
They
problem.
weren't good episodes, but yeah.
Is that I don't think that when it is full sitcom, like those first 3 episodes, I don't think it's a very good sitcom. I don't think it's funny.
No.
Like,
That's the point. You're missing the point.
Episode.
It is spot on the way in which it was. For someone who grew up watching all those older sort of ones, the Dick Van Dyke Show, the humor is spot on. But
Yeah.
the thing
It's
is,
nailing the tone.
it's not funny to us
I think
now.
the second episode was funny though. Like I think Vision just being drunk, that reminded me of Hugh Jackman in The Prestige when they had him like with the double with the teeth. It just reminded me of that. So that I thought was hilarious. But what you were saying about how it's being a standalone thing, that more comes from me from the reason I think there's more to it than just Wanda is the amount of episodes that are left and the fact
you're right.
that they keep having these throwaway lines with Agnes where she says and the other lady where she says the devil's in the detail, and then Agnes and winks.
Devil's
kind
in
of,
more than that.
that's not the only place he is. But so
Yeah.
I think there is something devilish.
No, you're
not even
Yeah, so
right.
you're talking about Dottie
But
when
hell,
they're at yeah.
they're in hell.
And also the only two
thing.
people who haven't actually been identified as anyone. So
Yeah, not even that. I thought that before. Dottie, I was a little surprised by.
This is what
I mean, she played was it Darla? Who did she play in Buffy? I can't remember. I always remember.
I don't remember, but this
So I was
is
gonna
what
say,
is going on.
Did anybody else?
Yeah.
Chris brought up something in the comments.
Yeah.
When they're viewing the TV in episode 4, Agnes did not
Agnes
appear
would show up.
once. I didn't notice that, but if that's the thing,
I did notice that Catherine Hahn is not in this episode. She's like
No, she's not.
she's in the background of one shot. I think when Wanda's shopping or something, it's the shot that they see Monica in.
But they have seen her because they have a
no, so
poster
that
of
they've
her
seen
up.
her. Yeah, I was right. She wasn't
Yeah.
shot.
They did
Because I
see her.
thought I
She
saw
wasn't
her.
shot.
It
They
doesn't
have
have
seen
to
her
be-
because they have her poster up there with
Yeah.
looking for it. They
Plus
just
they have that-
she just wasn't credited in this episode for probably because she wasn't.
No,
No, she was.
I don't know what
She's
reason.
credited in the end credits as a part of the lead cast.
Yeah, plus she's
Um,
in the.
Yeah, I saw her name.
But then again,
they,
sorry,
they
you go,
show,
Matt.
I say they show a scene of her in the first episode where she's giving the pineapple to them.
Yeah,
When
Oh
she
yeah, no.
first meets-
No, yeah, she did appear. Okay, I'm not
Yeah,
crazy.
she's
I
in
read
a-
it.
two
few of
speaking lines from her.
I read it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure she did show up, but I wasn't paying that close attention. Maybe you
Yeah.
did miss her. Yeah, because I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure we saw every character that's at least had a line of dialogue.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, they showed more faces on that board than we've met, because they're background characters and stuff.
Right.
Am I the only person that saw David Schwimmer shrunk down and grew a moustache?
Yes,
Who?
I saw that too.
I
Saw
saw it. I'm like, that's David Schwimmer with a short David Schwimmer
Oh.
with a moustache.
Oh yeah,
That mustache looks
I can
very
see that.
fake.
Oh, Devin, you said something about the uniforms.
Oh yeah. So the sword agents, the color for the jumpsuits that they have in that hangar where they're walking through, that's like the perfect color for the Fantastic Four uniforms.
Huh? True.
Just slap a bunch of fours on them.
Then there you go.
Yeah,
Bam.
but
I mean, they already have long rumored Mr. Fantastic John Krasinski working with them. So I mean, why not just make
he's
the
already
transition?
on his space station with Fury, maybe the blip happened when they were in
That
space.
joke went completely over your head because
Yeah.
somebody else got the
So-
joke, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh,
Thank you.
But this is what's going on in the show. And I mean, I think this is clear as day. I think me and Aaron's prediction is right as like a mix. Because Sword is watching them, obviously, as we see in the episode, but she created it. She absolutely created that world, and everybody that came in is a part of it. Like everybody there knows that they're stuck in this thing that she's created. Because like for example, when Vision goes up to her and talks to her and says, we can leave, we can go anywhere, right? And she's like, no, I can't. She made that because Vision died, and that's a figment of her imagination. She
There's a
created
reason they're
Vision.
staying there, though. Like it might
But-
be
well,
burial
because
ground or
she
something
doesn't
like
wanna
that, but
lose.
there's a reason that they're
I think,
And
I
this
think
also
it's
connects
more-
right to Doctor Strange too.
one at a time, guys. I can't hear anything.
No, you're good. I was gonna say, sorry, I didn't mean to try and cut you off there. I was gonna say, I don't think the supernatural element is wrong, like that they're saying, especially with the Agatha Harkness. Like,
Yeah.
they're clearly setting up. Well, here's the thing: they're either setting up that she is something, or they're having her wink at the camera so much because they're gonna swerve and do something else.
Mhm.
They're
That
setting
could
up many things.
that
Like
that
that witness protection thing, like what's that about? I think it might be Dr. List. If people like have watched Agents of Shield and like know a little bit more about the characters, Dr. List.
I don't know if they bring characters from Agents of Shield in.
Yeah.
Also,
No,
because
he's not-
they
he's
also
not
made a
moving.
point that Agents of Shield is in an alternate reality after season 5. It shifted to a different reality.
He's on two. No. He wasn't. He appeared on Agents of Shield, but he was also at the end of Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
And-
I understand it. I think the thing that everyone's overlooking is when did Wu learn the card trick? We
Yeah,
spent
that's
for
true.
ages trying to figure
He's
it
had
out.
5 years, man.
He had 5
We had
years. I'm so proud.
no. Here's the
You don't
thing.
know who
No,
got blipped.
no. He got blipped
No, he didn't.
because they made a point about saying, "Do you think the reason why we could see it is because of the blip?" That's what she.
No, he
That's
said
what
because we don't know because of proximity.
But he was blipped.
Sitting,
They made
Proximity and personal attack.
he was sitting in a security
I've watched the
office
episode like 12
when
times.
a rat rode across
Yeah.
the dashboard of a van, hit a button, and made Scott Lang pop out.
Yeah. What?
Wu was. He was
No, it wasn't.
the FBI agent.
No, it wasn't. That was the guy from Community.
Ken
Yeah.
Jeong, the security
That
guard.
was,
Yeah.
that was Ken Jeong. You're
In
getting
all fairness, all agents look alike, right, Devin? I got you.
Come on, Devin. Not all Asian guys are the same. You're getting Ken Jeong confused with Randall Park.
All right, before this goes into racist dark, let's no. So I was gonna say, unless
You're
anyone
right.
has anything to add about the episode, because I think we could keep going all night. Go ahead if you have something good.
First off, spoilers, guys. In case you don't know, spoilers for the episode. Gotta throw that in there. We didn't
Like
say
we
spoilers.
haven't already.
Now
No.
we're saying spoilers. But
No.
anyway,
No.
this is I episode very much. I liked how they kind of explained what was going on and whatnot, which was she created this thing. People, and she hit it to a point to where people could just drive on by and then they're stuck in there. That's why in episode 3, when Herb is getting ready to tell Vision why, he's going to tell them we're all stuck here. But Agnes stops him. He's like, no, don't say anything. Like they all know they're stuck in there.
I thought it was gonna be they're all dead.
No, they're not all dead because they're
Can you not
they
see?
all
We
they're
are
all
all
missing.
dead.
no because
See,
yeah, they're definitely not all dead.
you go, Matt. And
But also, I mean, what was I gonna say? You could, like I said, Herb, was getting ready to tell Vision, hey, we're all stuck in here, and then Agnes or whatever tells them, no, stop. That's why I think she's, obviously not like a normal in a sense. Like she knows they're stuck in there. She's not gonna.
Yeah.
But she didn't want that to come out.
afraid of
She obviously
something.
knows something's gonna happen. It's all, I think she's, very slightly being controlled to do it. She obviously created it so she can live this fantasy life with Vision. That's why they had the kids and everything. And I guarantee 7 or 8, that's when the kids are going to be out of it. And, with however that happens, whether they're taken back to, Earth with Randall Park and whatnot, whether, they go bye-bye, whatever. And that's when she's going to snap. Because this is setting up Doctor Strange.
Sacrifice.
I don't think we're not going to get that dark. I mean, we're
not doing child sacrifice.
But we're not going to get that dark. But
well,
they're going to be taken out.
The thing, it would be child sacrifice if they're not real.
That is true.
I think no, but I think that's the thing. I think like it's a magic dimensional thing. They're real because she made them real. The clothes that Monica had on in the WandaVision town, she had those same clothes on when she went out.
The jump rope.
Yeah, same with when the rope changed to a skipping rope.
If they're created in that reality, they can be removed from it. But I think it's one of those things where if it is like a hell thing, those are demon babies.
Well,
so I was gonna say, Grant, do you want to go and then we'll move on?
Yeah, all right. Just a little bit of the source material backstory. So essentially, what happens is within the comics of a very similar story, Wanda is being controlled by Mephisto to essentially create 2 babies, twins, so they can do their sacrifice to bring them into the corporeal world.
Mm.
And the whole point of it was Vision who convinced her that the children aren't real, that he's not real, that because she brought him back from the dead, and then he ended up being the Silver Thing, which is a completely different story. And it was Vision that ended up making her do it, and that's when she snapped and added the lines in, no more mutants, because she had to get rid of the only family that she ever knew, because she's in control of the illusion, but she's not in control of herself. She gets to see what she wants and gets to make what she wants. But you will see at certain times when she used all of her powers to push Rambo out, she lost the ability to hold the illusion or something. Maybe that's the reason why she saw Vision as the death version. Maybe it's just a PTSD thing. But I think that's a similar route that they're going to go, because if they introduce Mephisto, that would be a perfect big bad to bring in. Because remember, this was supposed to be the last out of all the TV series as well. This was supposed to lead directly into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which they've already stated that it looks like she's the antagonist. So I think if they're going to stick to what they're doing, and Feige being Feige, who has already said this is one of his favorite stories, and Paul Bettany already stating he's not going to be in any more movies or anything. This is his last project.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where it's going to go, and it's going to be her essentially losing Vision and her family for the last time. That sends her over the edge, where it's no longer her just trying to maintain this little thing, and it's her trying to, whether get revenge on Mephisto or something like that. I think that would be a very smart way, because then you've got a bad guy who's more powerful than Thanos, but is in the more mystical sort of realm. And she's responsible. She could be responsible for bringing in mutants and all that. And they've already said that they said that Wanda's the key to mutants and the Fantastic Four being in there. So maybe she has a psychotic snap and rips the world apart, or just gives people powers or something. Anything could happen. Yeah. And I think that's where they're going, because it's world building, and that's why they're focused so much on it.
And I'm going to predict. Sorry.
I thought Quake ripped the world apart.
Yeah.
It's the Shield Pocket Universe.
Now, I will say, prediction real quick. You're going to get Evan Peters as Quicksilver in either episode 6 or 7.
No, he's going to be somebody else.
He's going to be in it. He's going to be in it.
I don't think he'll be quick. They don't have to write the name Quicksilver. Actually, no, they might now, because they have Fox. They might be. That's the reason why they never called Scarlet Witch.
I was going to say.
Or Ralph. He could be your husband, Ralph.
I think that would probably where they would go.
And he could also be Ralph. Could also be the missing person. because we haven't seen him.
Maybe.
He's missing
But
the show, but we've heard his name.
Maybe. I still think he's going to be Quicksilver. Because it's going to open up, because it sets up Doctor Strange. It's going to get to the whole multiverse stuff. You're going to get Evan Peters in the show, and you might get some others in the show too.
Thank you.
I think it's.
So-
I think Grant. I think you're right, and that you're wrong, because I think all of you, what you're saying is right. Is that it's going to set up the multiverse stuff. That we're going to need the Mephisto stuff. But I think when it comes to that stuff's going to be self-contained within its own thing. So I think at the end of WandaVision's dealing with this whole hell thing, witch thing, and then at the end of it, it's going to tease multiverse. And
By getting
then
Evan
with
Peters.
Multiverse of Madness, it's gonna tease the stuff with like Spider-Man or Spider-Man.
I agree, but I think the thing that's changed now is the world situation, and this was done before. I don't think it's going to be TV shows setting up movies. I think it's going to be, when they do movies, it's going to be either payoffs or setting up for new TV shows and everything, because they've gone full hog into streaming. That's what they want to do.
Yeah. Because the end of the last 20 minutes of Endgame, it's like, look at this show, look at this show, look at this show.
Yeah, so I was gonna say I'll wrap it up so we can move on from WandaVision. What I was gonna say before I got cut off earlier was, I think she created the world. I don't think anyone else created it. I think she created it. I think if there's any outside forces acting, I think they're like, if Agnes is something more, I think it's manipulation more than it is they created it and are giving her the thought of control. I think it's more outside manipulation than anything. Something's found its way in and is beginning to manipulate her in a certain way. What I'll say to close is one more brief point, because we talked about WandaVision as a whole, not really the episode. Again, more credit to Matt Shackman and the writer of the episode and the creator of the show, Jock Schaefer. They took one of the most annoying comedic relief characters in Kat Dennings' character. I can't even remember her name. Kat Dennings' character. And I thought Randall Park was good in Ant-Man, but I thought he was wasted. They took both of them and made them characters I liked in this episode. I thought this was the best portrayal we've seen from Kat Dennings in the MCU. I don't know how it's going to continue to go, but I think it's better than anything they did with her in the Thor films.
She didn't blip because she had to get her doctorate at some point.
Oh my god!
I
don't want to get into it, dude. I'm literally 100% against that.
No, that's
I
fair.
think this was her worst. I think this was her worst portrayal. She had a quirkiness the other one, and now like she was just a dick for no reason.
Before, she wasn't a character; she was a caricature, and in this, she actually had a role to play.
How was she everything happened. Everything revolved around it. She was just it gets thing. Snappy one-liners. It was pointless.
I was gonna say, before we go into another debate,
She was there to put down every single person around her and make her look better by putting people down. It wasn't that she shone really well. She was there to make herself look better by putting everyone else around her down. And I don't like that in a character, because that's not character development.
I thought it was.
True.
I'll just say I never liked her.
Not a debate.
We'll see where they go with it. All
Why
I'll say
cover her up? Why put her in a jacket? Of all the characters you're going to put in the thick jacket, put her in a t-shirt, like, for Christ's sake.
No, but I kind of want the thing that I think that could be fun, that we could actually play a game, make a game out of. I would love to make a game out of the Evan Peters thing.
So I was gonna say
official numbers down and like have a game where who's he like, is he Quicksilver or is he not? And then the group of people that say he's not have to do something, and the group of people that says he is have to get something like that, some sort of game.
We can discuss later. I was gonna say, before that happened, I was just trying to wrap all the thoughts I had up because I couldn't get in, so I could move on. I don't think he's gonna be Quicksilver. I just, again, as somebody who doesn't know comics, I can't comprehend the multiverse. I fucking hate that this is where it's going. I'm gonna have to be proven wrong by the quality of the film if they pull it off. I hate the idea. Like, I would rather see, as much as I hate, and we talked about this another week when I was last on 2 weeks ago, I hate that the MCU sets up no stakes for any of its lead characters. I would be much more open to Aaron Taylor Johnson coming back as his version of Quicksilver than I would Evan Peters crossing over, because I think Evan Peters is the definition of MCU quirky. It worked in the X-Men films because no other character was like that. In the MCU, I think he's more of the same. in terms of he's one-liners, he's quippy, he's quirky, he's all of this. Whereas Pietro Maximoff, with the exception of the didn't see that coming bit, the Pietro version of the character was not that. And at least it'd be something a little different, hopefully, you'd hope.
Yeah. The best part about it is he'd come back and he'd be like, Wanda, where's your accent?
Yeah, true. So with that being said, last comment on that, because we got Doctor Strange a little bit. And I'm going to go into, I want to talk about one of these little news snippets before we move on completely from Marvel. Can I just say, without starting a debate, everything you're talking about with Doctor Strange 2 makes me preemptively hate this movie more and more, because I was just excited for Doctor Strange 2 when it was Chiwetel Ejiofor as Mordo was going to come back and be the villain in some way. Now I'm hearing there could also be a Mephisto character, or Scarlet Witch is the villain, or this or that, and the multiverse and everything. I fucking hate the sound of it, because Sam Raimi's the director, and the last time he put him in charge of a blockbuster that had this much going on, he made Spider-Man 3, and that's not a good film.
Feige is the benefit here, though, because Feige wasn't in control of Spider-Man 3, and he hated the Venom inclusion for that too.
Yeah, so it scares me, and I hate it, and I'm annoyed because apparently Mordo is in the film. Ejiofor is set to come in. I think he's a brilliant actor. I think he could have done a lot as a villain, and I think he's either not going to get a lot of screen time again, or they're just going to do like what they did with Crossbones, where they kept Crossbones alive just to shove him in at the start of the packed film. And I hate that idea.
This is where the misconception is. He's never going to be a villain in the MCU.
I love him.
I guess, but again, without going too deep into it, I thought the setup at the end of the film with him, the ending, and then the credit scene with Pangborn, I thought that's what they were setting up. Yeah. Again, if they don't go there, they don't go there. But to me, it's just again.
But he's a great.
The problem with the cinematic universe. You can't have something that has any stakes without having other people involved, because everyone else would know about it.
Every step of the way, they are going to have to convince me this multiverse thing works, because I think about it, and to me, I think that's the breaking point. Like, I think this is the point where you go, you got to really nail this, or you are going to lose so many people. Like, the only thing that would hang
you can't nail it. Multiverse has killed every comic that's ever happened. As soon as they introduce a multiverse, it's great, but then it gets convoluted, it gets complicated. Yeah. Things. It's going. But here's the thing: I think this is good, because I think this could lead to the end of the MCU as a thing. Because I think if this is something that could go on forever, it will be something that we will look at in years' time as like, oh yeah, the first 10 years were great, but don't even. I can't look fondly on the early stuff, because the last stuff was. I think if they're building towards an end, I think this is the way to do it.
Fair enough. So before we move on completely from Marvel, I'll go ahead and bring it up briefly. Again, not wanting to spark an hour debate over this, but after months and months of stories of rumors of who could be in Spider-Verse thanks to this apparent multiverse inclusion, this week we had two different actors come out and blatantly say, no, I am not in the film. And again, Dane DeHaan, quite literally, I can't remember. I read it. I don't know if there's an audio version of his interview, because I believe it was with a radio thing. But from the way he speaks, like it clearly he has no interest in wanting to come back and play that character.
It sounded like
It
sounded like when Grillo said that he was in Endgame. Like before Endgame came out, he said he spoiled that he was in Endgame. And then he's like, I don't care. I don't want to do any of these movies anymore anyway. He just completely renounced Marvel essentially.
And to be fair, it's a bit different. Sony didn't have bloody Dane DeHaan's back with all the backlash about him and everything like that. They just basically left him to the wolves.
It doesn't have to be exactly the same.
Yeah. So I again, without sparking a too long debate on this, because quite honestly, as someone who loves Marvel, I'm getting sick of talking about multiverse shit. If neither of them are in the film, I think it's one better for it. I don't think Wanda needs to be here, especially if we're leaning towards a villain thing. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail. I myself am someone who doesn't care for spoilers, so out of curiosity, I read the supposed plot leak that came out. And this plot leak supposedly says they are going to be able to balance whatever the multiverse shit is with the Peter identity thing still, and it went into detail about how it'll work. And again, without saying any of it on the show for a potential spoiler of anyone else, it still didn't convince me in the writing, the execution, and obviously this is someone writing an interpretation of something they read. But it didn't impress me. It didn't sell me on it very well. And again, I'm someone who thinks the potential plot we had set up of Spider-Man 3 of Peter having to prove innocence and do something to hide his identity again was a perfectly fine plot. I don't think it needs multiverse, but if that's where we're going with it, I'm not convinced. And I am very worried, especially because one of my biggest criticisms of Homecoming upon rewatching it was specifically Homecoming. I thought it balanced its characters very poorly. It had a huge ensemble of mixing in government people and bad guys and teachers and students. And it's like, you don't need this many named characters with dialogue. You're balancing this horribly. We have characters that serve no purpose outside of being in a scene and showing up again just in the background for the rest of the film.
Like, they didn't need Liz at all in Homecoming.
No.
Like, they could have written Michael Keaton as like as something else. They could have had Michael Keaton be the.
So hold on, I'm gonna shut this down. I'm gonna shut this down very quickly. No offense, Chris. There's a Patrick Stewart rumor. The Patrick Stewart rumor is Patrick Stewart said in an interview, yeah, when Kevin Feige got Fox, he reached out to me, gave me a rough pitch, and I said no respectfully.
No,
that's the Patrick Stewart rumor. There is no rumor.
I actually have a new update on Spider-Man casting. It literally just come in. They've just 100% confirmed the only person that's not coming back in Spider-Man is Uncle Ben.
And you never know if they're doing multiverse. You never know.
He goes up to Doctor Strange. He goes, "Hey, can you show me Uncle Ben again? I need to see him." He goes, "No."
With great power.
It's like Doctor Strange
dad,
up and shoots him.
Right. But did you guys see what Zendaya said?
Multiverse, so he just shoots himself.
Right. Did you guys see what Zendaya said about who was in the movie too?
Christmas.
Yeah, she accidentally confirmed Alfred Molina was in the film.
Yeah, which you know
we already knew.
I love him.
It was reported, but they never came out
anyone
officially.
from the studio.
Yeah, so this is the first time somebody said that he was in it. So I mean,
I love Alfred Molina. I love him in everything but Spider-Man.
Remember,
I love him as Doc Ock.
Remember months ago though, Tatiana Maslany said that she absolutely wasn't She-Hulk. Anybody could say anything at any time and be lying because Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's actually still correct. She's not. Yeah. She's not She-Hulk. She's Jennifer Drew. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay, so you think they may bring in a big lady to play She-Hulk?
Gina Carano.
They'll bring in someone and they'll do it.
That would be so cool though. I think that'd be a better idea, especially on TV. Because She-Hulk,
bring in Lou Ferrigno and give him a wig.
And Jennifer Drew's like, I'm sorry, I got the.
Well, to be fair, with the Tatiana Maslany thing, how long was it between that rumor going around and her official confirmation?
It was like 3 months, I think.
Okay. I think she said at the time, I'm not She-Hulk, because there wasn't a contract in place. They could have still been negotiating. Why would you confirm something before you have the job?
I think I think the actors are told to lie in certain situations.
Well, yes, in certain situations, but like
but no one
hers was very convincing. Ewan McGregor spent 5 years saying, I'm not coming back as Obi-Wan, and no one ever believed him. And then he admitted, I got told to do it.
No. Yeah, he got paid to lie. But when you're paid to lie, it's acting.
But no one believed him. That's what I'm saying.
I hear what you're saying.
I think she legitimately at that moment was saying, I am not She-Hulk, because she wasn't confirmed. Why would you get ahead of yourself and then have something happen and you are not She-Hulk anymore?
I think she had already signed it on ink at that point, but that's just me. What was the next story?
Well, I was gonna say unless so just to, because all the other Marvel stuff's small enough that we can move on at this point. I was gonna say just with the Spider-Man, I just, you know what, keep giving me stories of people who aren't in the film. This doesn't need Dane DeHaan's Green Goblin. This does not need Wanda. Just keep telling me who's not in the film.
Do you think Tony Stark's in it?
No, I hope not. I
think 100% he's in it.
No, hate that. I don't mind the references to him because in the MCU he is integral to Peter's arc. I don't mind that, but I don't need Robert Downey to come back. And I don't think he wants to either. I really don't think he cares.
Right. Now,
Like,
He can't afford not to.
I never thought Wanda was going to be in the movie, but the only way I thought, okay, she would be in it is like a post-credit scene because this is all leading up to Doctor Strange. But she's
That's
not going to
exactly
have
right.
a like actual role in the movie. It would be like a scene kind of like in Iron Man 3 where you had the Hulk in there for the one scene where Tony was telling
end
the story.
credits, yeah.
It would just be an end credit where it sets up kind of like it
Fury
was
at the end
Thor
of
and Doctor Strange's
Yes,
one of their
yes.
end credits. Something
Iron
like
Man
that.
and Hulk.
Yeah, but it like she wasn't going to actually be in the movie outside of post credit because
Here I want to. Sorry to cut you off. I just want to address it in the comment because again, as somebody who absolutely whole fucking heartedly does not believe anything Sony is doing will cross over into the MCU, Chris put a comment basically implying that the move of Morbius to after Spider-Man 3 could because it's connected to it. I think it's because Morbius isn't very good and they don't want it to fail worse than it could. I think there's a reason because it just moved to an October date. Like they moved it from its original release date to an October release date.
Halloween.
And then when it came down to moving this movie again or putting something else in its date, they bumped it to January. I think it's bad and they want it to have a chance.
Yes. And
I mean, if it's going to be connected to any movie, maybe I could see Venom.
Yeah, Venom. Like, I think it'll connect to Venom in some way, but clearly it's not tight enough that because they flip-flop more than once now of which one's coming first. I don't think it's tight enough that it needs to happen.
Connect to Blade.
Right. It just I think there is some. I think there's some sort of connection simply with Michael Keaton.
If it wasn't earned by the MCU.
But if there's going to be any Spider-Man connection to Morbius or to Venom 2 or whatever, it would be Tobey's Spider-Man. Because Tobey isn't working. He has no work outside of these Marvel movies. He's going to need some money. So I think maybe you can have him in there. You have his Spider-Man drawing in there, and that could have just been like a fun little Easter egg. But if there is going to be a connection, it's going to be Tobey's. Like Andrew Garfield doesn't need the work really. Depending on what happens with Spider-Man and MCU, Tom Holland he's set, so maybe Tobey. But
I think
that
Garfield
would be
wants
the
to
part
do it.
I think so too, but I think he has plenty to do.
Yeah, because he always talks about how being Spider-Man like was like the most favorite thing that ever happened to him.
Right. That's why
Like,
I think
he loved being Spider-Man.
that's why I don't
he-
need a pitch to come back.
I think he was a great Peter Parker.
Yeah,
No,
I don't
think
think he was a great Spider-Man.
I like him.
You like skater.
I thought for what the
Skater
movie was
Peter
going
Parker.
Yeah, me too.
it's not the only thing about his Peter that didn't work had nothing to do with his Peter, and it's that I like that the MCU approached Flash from a mental standpoint because despite the fact that I think Chris Zelka did a good job with Flash for what they gave him, there's no world in which that guy can beat up Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield naturally looks stronger than him because he's a skinny dude, just skinny frame, not huge and bulky like Manganiello was. Good performance, but not intimidating. You know, I believe the parts of that film where he's trying to.
Everyone knows Deathstroke a bit up Spider-Man, so.
And I didn't care about that movie at all anyway.
I love it. So, but anyways, so I was going to say, we can go ahead and move on. We'll go ahead since we're coming up on 2 hours shortly. We'll get to one or two more of these, but we're going to go ahead. Technically, this is a bit more of a somber one, so I prefer no jokes in the background, but we'll go ahead and get into the fourth story, which does relate it in an article that was reported by Cinema Blend writer Sean O'Connell, which was taken from an interview done for his new book, Release the Snyder Cut, The Crazy True Story Behind the Fight That Saved Zack Snyder's Justice League. He put out a piece of an interview from that book on Cinema Blend, the website that he works for and writes for. And in this interview, it was talking about the specifics behind Zack Snyder's decision to leave Justice League. Now, it had been majorly priorly reported that what drove him from the film was the unfortunate passing of his daughter, Autumn Snyder, who unfortunately committed suicide in March of 2017. Snyder has stated that he felt he had no choice but to walk away to be with his family, a decision no one would fault him for. However, in this interview, we've learned that it goes a bit deeper than that thought. Snyder said in particular what made him walk away was the fighting with the studio. Snyder had said that throughout production of the film, he was in constant fighting with the studio to keep the vision that he began with when he pitched the film, which to him was normal because he says filmmaking is a give or take constantly, especially with a creative like him who comes in with a particular vision. However, after the loss of his daughter, he felt drained physically and emotionally and didn't have the energy or care to fight over a movie when there was bigger hurting going on within his family. We already publicly knew that Snyder did try and hang on to the film, staying on as director till May of 2017. And even though he tried to envision a world where he could keep fighting till the November release, he felt walking away at the time was the healthier option. He also added that there seemed to be no path in which the studio would delay the film in order to give him time to grieve and then continue making, which lines up with reports from 2017 that Joss Whedon wasn't given any time to reshoot the film and was only given roughly 5 months to work on it when he was brought in. Zack Snyder's Justice League is set for release on March 18th, 2021, a fact that we found out this week through the release of some new promotional posters. And for those who are interested into more insight behind the story of how the film came to be, the Release the Snyder Cut book, written by Sean O'Connell, is set to release on March 1st, 2021, and is available for pre-order now where books are sold.
Yeah. So, is that it? Yeah.
There we go. So that is, yeah.
I think that everything Snyder said, like it's a very personal thing. That's what it seemed like to me at the time, like when it was all happening back when Justice League was coming out, was that it just did not seem like they were willing to give him any time to grieve and to finish the movie at all. Like, he would have been okay with reshooting it if he had the time. Like, okay, let's work with the studio, let's get like a collective vision. But they weren't even willing to give him the time of day to do that. Everybody was trying.
He said he came back because he was willing to come back. But the problem is, you've got to understand, Zack Snyder has a tribe. He has like freaking half a dozen, like I think he's got like 7 or 8 kids or something ridiculous like that. They weren't dealing with what's going on. His wife wasn't dealing with it. He had the ability to be able to put himself into work. And that's what he was trying to do. But every time he was trying to do something, it wasn't. And the fact of the matter is that Screen Crush, for all the stuff that they do, they are very sensationalized, especially with the stuff that they say. The fact of the matter is that they said that he didn't have the care in that. Zack Snyder is a person who has a huge amount of care for his work to the point where it's detrimental to his family, which he proved by coming straight back to work afterwards and doing it 4 months, doing it until he had to go. Mm-hmm. So the article itself, they're very sensationalized. He went through something that no parent should have to go through. He came back to do it, and the fact of the matter is that everyone around him who knew it and knew what was going on rallied behind him. Yet the studios were fighting him on little things, constant little things. Joss Whedon was brought in before his daughter had died. That was the whole thing. He was brought in to help do rewrites.
Right.
So he was already under that pressure beforehand.
I was going to say there is something to be noted because a lot of people talk about Whedon versus Snyder. I don't think the two of them see it that way because the two of them were friends for a long time before this ever happened. I think that's part of the reason Whedon ended up in the job, because of the connection to Snyder as well as the previous success with the Avengers films. Right. So it's not like, and now you could say what you want about Whedon personally, and sorry, Grant, to cut you off. I'll let you continue in a minute, but I've always believed that in terms of the film itself, I think the hate went a little too hard on Whedon. I don't think he was doing anything he personally wanted to do to spite Zack. I don't think it was ever that. I think it was he got put in a bad position of, oh, now you're the creative that we've brought in. You do our bidding. This is what we want. You got this amount of time, and go.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, let's call it specific. Whedon is not a a great bloke to work for, especially when he's now put under a limited sort of stuff. And that's obviously where the whole conflict with him and Ray Fisher came in, and other stuff like that. Whedon's job was in there. He had a job to go in there and do that. And I accept that. I didn't like Whedon's vision because I could see the Whedonisms that were coming out in the film. I got that, and then you got this dickhead over at freaking Collider that was freaking laughing at the fact that his daughter died and all that sort of stuff in the tweets, and that sort of stuff aside. Like, I mean, the guy was under a huge amount of pressure, and he went there because he loves the project. That's why he came back. That's why he could be doing anything else. The guy's made billions of dollars in films. He could be doing, but yet he's coming back to do a vision for a film that, while it made money, was considered one of the worst bombs in Warner Brothers because they expected it to make billions. He's coming back to make a 4-hour. It was going to be a 6-hour, but a 4-hour film.
Yep.
To bring everything together the way that he envisioned, because he now has the external backing which he didn't have before.
Oh,
Because now they've released the Snyder Cut. It's a huge fan movement that puts. It's unprecedented.
But back when BVS happened, like, I remember them saying, like, the reports of the 4-hour cut of Justice League that they were going to be editing down, that his first cut of Justice League was like 4 hours. And we're like, they're never going to release a 4-hour Justice League. Now they're doing it.
Because it was supposed to be 2 hours. It was supposed to be 2 movies. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
He had 5 movies in his initial universe.
Right.
So, but like it's one of those things. Like, when it comes to the Snyder Cut and that sort of thing, it's something that I followed very, very closely. And as I said, all due respect to Screen Crush and all these other ones that do sort of things, they sensationalize the worst part of it, and they add little things in there, and that now becomes the narrative.
Yeah. Now I should say to your wording, I don't personally, I don't believe the article was that sensationalized, the actual direct article, simply because it's not a reporting of something. It's quite literally from an interview he had with the man himself. And my paraphrasing was from a much longer direct quote of Snyder's. So if there felt like any sensationalization, that may have been on me as well. Just because again, for the sake of keeping it quick, I'm not going to read long quotes verbatim. I'm just going to paraphrase it. But I actually think I agree with your statement of, I think a lot of the time they do sensationalize it. Just this one in particular, I actually think was respectful simply because of where it comes from. It's an excerpt from a book that this writer happened to be the writer of.
And the problem is because we don't actually have the book available to us at the moment.
Yes.
March 1st.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, the book. I think I said it. March 1st is when it's available.
But I felt like the movement behind everything. I think that's, like we saw with the Against the Wall Street, everyday people coming together. Like we saw a little bit with Sonic, and now we're seeing something to the tune of $70-80 million worth of stuff being given to, a film that Warner Brothers already deems a failure.
Right.
Yeah. I think with everything that's happening, that's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
Realizing that the fans are actually worth a lot more than what, and I think this is what Disney Star Wars is going to have an issue with pretty soon, because they've got to realize that the fans are the ones that drive the business, not their own internal thing.
High Republic stuff is garbage. I mean, it's toilet paper.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into it with you, Nick, but yes, I know. Yes, I agree. We could be ranting about it for hours, but that's not the topic.
They're
I don't
like,
know anything.
They're ruining lore. Like, and I'm not even one of those people that love Legends. What they're doing is they're boxing. If they're like actually going to go forward with this and say, like, this is canon, this is unchangeable, you're boxing in filmmakers that actually might have good stories to tell.
Which I guess it's essentially like saying Batman was always poor, and the idea of his family being rich was just an illusion. They never actually had any money. They were just good at social media. It's the equivalent of doing that, changing the whole law, but doing it in the past. It's a weird.
I mean, and I guess we'll get to see what that looks like, because we do know out of the slew of shows they announced, The Acolyte is one that'll take place during that era.
Themselves as far away from those books as possible if they're smart.
Yeah, the physical material, the comics and stories that they've released so far are pretty bad.
I have the books. I Well, I don't have the first comic. I was too late on the subscription thing. I'll have to find that later. But I do
You
have
know what,
the
Matt?
book.
Give me your address. I will send you my copy
Yeah.
for free. You can have it.
All right.
Well, shipping's gonna cost you like $30 from Australia.
Right. Yeah.
I don't
30 bucks.
care. It's worth it getting out of the house.
I just looked at the digital version. If you want, I can like just hold my webcam and read it with you. It's not worth it.
Story.
So I was going
time
to
with
say,
me.
unless anybody else has anything to add, we're at the 2-hour mark. Do we want to do one more? Or do we want to get out of here?
What are some of the other stories?
All
Yeah,
right,
do
I'll
one
give
more.
you.
Why not? I'll try not to take
I'll
up
give
too
you.
much time.
I'll give you 3 log lines we can run with.
Okay.
We got one that involves Tomb Raider. We got
Okay.
one that involves some announcements of a lot of franchises,
Okay.
and we got one that involves the Kevin Hart Borderlands announcement.
I'd prefer the second one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the way you sold that second one with a lot like, ooh, there's intrigue in that already.
Yeah, it's gonna
Okay.
be like just
Yeah.
50 Shades of Grey and like franchises, Mamma Mia, all those franchises.
50
we don't
Shades
care
of Grey
about.
meets Mamma Mia meets Crash Bandicoot in the new virtual reality game.
There we go.
Well, I hope
I'll buy that.
they're all little tidbits of info, but I hope they're a little more entertaining than that. Let's go ahead. It'll take a minute for me
Here
to
we
get there.
go.
I gotta switch everything over. Okay.
Cher's not in the movie.
All right, here we go. The final piece story for tonight. So this is going to be our the first set of mini stories I put together. All of them focus on upcoming franchise expansions, announcements, news, and rumors that could all be discussion worthy. The first is, as reported by THR, Warner Brothers is planning on producing a live-action expansion of the Harry Potter universe as a series headed to HBO Max. There is no information outside of that, with THR including in the announcement that Warner is meeting with as many writers as possible and are open to any possible idea, with execs having no direction they are specifically interested in. On his personal blog this week, author Rick Riordan confirmed that he will be spending the week in meetings with higher figures at Disney, discussing and finalizing the script for the pilot of the upcoming series adaptation of Percy Jackson to Disney+. Riordan says he personally feels great about the project, a sentiment he did not share with the first 2 films, and says that once everyone is involved on the same page for the pilot, the writers can continue forward with writing the entirety of the first season. Riordan also noted that while the show has been taking a while to get off the ground, he believes the time spent will be worth it, as it'll make a product fans will be more invested in. This week, while being interviewed on the show Living Life Fearless, actor Ernie Hudson was discussing the upcoming film Ghostbusters Afterlife, a sequel to the original 2 Ghostbusters films. The movie is already confirmed that we will see 5 of the original cast members return to the film, but one of them isn't Rick Moranis. On the heels that Moranis was recently confirmed to be coming out of retirement for a sequel to the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise, Hudson was asked about the likelihood of Moranis showing up in the film, to which he said, quote, "I think the studios probably want to hold that one. I love Rick, but yeah, I'll let them share that." While the wording is tricky and could be interpreted in many ways, many people on the internet seem to believe that this was an accidental confirmation of Moranis' involvement. We'll find out the answer when Ghostbusters Afterlife releases on November 11th, 2021. And finally, for this set of stories, James Mangold on Twitter may have confirmed when Indiana Jones 5 takes place, that being the 1960s. Mangold released a tweet that referenced that all of his recent projects have been set in the 60s. This does line up, as Ford v Ferrari was about the build-up and the event of Le Mans 66. And while he is currently in different stages of development on 3 different directorial efforts, none of which are committed to time periods, the 60s would make sense for Indiana Jones. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was set in 1957, meaning that even a 10-year time jump would still keep the film in the late 60s. The answers will be found when Indiana Jones 5 releases in July of 2022. So there we go. 4 different franchises having some kind of rumor or announcement centered around them. Go ahead, whoever wants to hop in first, pick your favorite story.
I love the Harry Potter news. I love the Harry Potter news just because it's like, we have a plan to make a TV series. Oh, really? What's the plan? I don't know. Something. It's like, I heard somebody last week, like, it's like, we're coming together with a plan. Really? What's your plan? To make a plan. That's not a plan. That's not a plan.
Honestly, I don't hate it just because I like the idea of them being
I love
open to well, the thing that I honestly love is them hearing writers. One of the things I've said about the Fantastic Beasts franchise is I'm worried about staleness. I don't think J.K. Rowling's a good enough film writer. I think David Yates is becoming very stale in his direction of Harry Potter. And honestly, even though I think Cloves will help, or Cloves will help, I'm still worried again. A lot of his writing credits have to do with Harry Potter. And I'm worried about staleness. So I like the idea that they're meeting with tons of new writers to get new ideas, go somewhere completely fresh.
That's how they got Rogue One. They just took pitches from everybody who worked at like Lucasfilm and John
Rogue
Nolan.
One, I mean, pitched by John Nolan, exactly.
Yeah.
There is a simple solution. Set it in the American version of, I can't remember what the American version of Hogwarts is. I'm terrible with the name. Yeah. There you go. That's the way that you separate. You can't have anyone there. You can keep it in the universe. You can put a new spin. You can make it a little bit more Americanized. So then the American, you still have the British overseas and everything like
Have
that
an American
to make sure. Still do it. Well, I'm saying you make it. There's an American one. There's one in each continent. They made a point of there's a school of witchcraft and wizardry. You know, make it the American one. I think that would that would work because you could start a whole new thing. It's a completely blank slate. You can literally steal from your own material. Do what AC/DC has been doing for years. Just basically reinterpret your own stuff for years and just basically go. You've now got a chosen one, but he's not exactly a chosen one. He's just someone who's been elevated.
Do what the High Republic did and make the wands powered by these different kinds of batteries and make it so that they can't use hyperspace.
No. We're done with Star Wars. We're not using this as
an opportunity to shit on it.
I was going to say, and I actually don't think that's a terrible idea to go into something like the Ilvermorny School. It should be noted that they may go somewhat near there, just because in Fantastic Beasts 3, they've made a point in casting that actress Jessica Williams, who cameoed in the second film as a professor from Ilvermorny, will have a bigger role in this film. So they're clearly doing something related to it in the third film, if not referencing it and taking this woman somewhere else around the world. They have said they're going to Rio, so who knows what they're doing down there.
I mean, do a South American version. I mean, that would be great. You could add the whole, like, you could add. I mean, there's so much different laws you could add into. I mean,
exactly.
Even if they do America, you could have like the professor of voodoo, literally turning that into something that within the world, like.
And I would also love to see potentially a real modern day version of what the Wizarding World looks like. Because for those who don't know, they don't ever address it completely, but the Harry Potter films are set in the 90s. They're not set in the modern day. I would love to see how the Wizarding World, even if it's not around Harry Potter, I would love to see how the Wizarding World has advanced 20 years, after Voldemort, after
Harry's kids, because like that's supposed to be like, isn't that supposed to be 30 years?
No, they made that shitty play. Oh,
no, I'm not talking about the play.
No. I think he's talking about the end scene.
But the ending scene takes place after that. Display takes place after that ending scene.
Yeah. No, I don't care about that. I just like that.
Well, no, it's technically not canon for the film.
That takes place.
It's not. Oh, fuck yeah, because that thing.
No, it's not canon for the films. The play is not canon for the films because the films are the canon for the film.
The moment I lost interest in that play was the moment I read it, and the villain's basically Voldemort's love child, and I was like, no, this is the second worst thing to having to think about Sheev boning. Which one of you fucks bone Voldemort?
Enough. No. Horrible people have kids all the time, and they do it in horrible ways.
Yes, I know. Jesus.
The world is horrible, people. Men suck.
Thank you.
It was just men. It was always men. They're bad.
All right. So, just to go in a different, I don't know how anyone else feels, but yeah, for the Harry Potter thing, I think they could go anywhere with it. I like that they're not tied down to one idea. Like, I like this more than if I heard Warner execs have come up with a plan and now they're wanting to hear writers pitching their version of that plan. I love this so much more than they can go anywhere with this.
As long as it's not called Harry Potter or Harry Potter, like you can call it the. I don't know. Does the universe itself have its own
Wizarding
name?
World.
Like
the Wizarding World.
I mean, yeah. But is that something that normies would understand? The Wizarding World means that. I get that we do because with the categories of different things.
It's better than it's better than oh god, what's the
The
Sony?
Potterverse or something.
It's
Okay.
better than like Scump or whatever the Sony is. Spunk, that's what it is. Spunk is Sony's. Sony's universe name now is Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel Characters, or Spunk. So as long as it's not Spunk, we're good.
I don't think anybody's ever acknowledged that. But
I every time it comes up, I call it Spunk because it's fucking awful. But if you're gonna own up to it, own up to it.
Spunk. Would be
I don't
Spunk.
think we can. I don't think we can recover from that.
Spunk. Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel Characters, or Spunk.
I think.
Oh, sorry guys, I got 3% left on my phone and it's starting to overheat.
It's okay. We'll Spunk anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned Spunk, and you know what I'm like. I've got to just get off. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for everything, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. If when I get my computer all set up properly, I'll be able to stay on for a full stream. But on my phone, thing bloody overheat StreamYard. So
I got to talk to you about this off air.
yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Give me half an hour, Nikki, and then we'll jump onto a Facebook convo. We'll have a talk. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you all, and keep up the good work, guys.
So I was gonna say, but before we sign off, just to get into one of the other ones, I don't know how you guys feel about it. But as someone who, when I was younger, read most of the Percy Jackson books, they started going into like sequel series and shit, and I fell off at that point. But the original 5 books, I think, are some of the best fantasy books written since like Harry Potter. And those films, I don't hate either of those films, but they're certainly not good adaptations of the book because they didn't try, and they're certainly not good. I mean, they didn't. Like, those films are adaptations if I read like the spark notes of the book and then tried to adapt it from that. Like, they got basic locations, character names, and kind of a plot down, like enough to get a C in English class.
Too old for this.
It's not. I thought they were fine. I read them when I was younger.
Yeah. I
But
think they like passed like my generation was already like out of school when those came out. It was more whatever.
Yeah, the first one
I
was
only ever
05.
read the first page of Magnus Chase.
The first one was 05.
Yeah.
I believe, if I remember correctly. But so, as somebody who wasn't the biggest fan of the films, again, the first one I'm not a huge fan of. The second one embraces its corniness more, and I think that makes it ever so slightly better, but they're not good. And so with that being said, I like the idea that we're getting a chance to readapt these to Disney Plus. I think that's a really intriguing idea, and I think it's a different IP for Disney to work off of. We've talked about how Disney Plus is lacking for popular content. You know, it's Marvel, Star Wars, and the High School Musical show. So I think
the documentary about the Mandalorian.
Right. So
that was in the top 5 shows. The number 5 top show last year was the documentary of the Mandalorian. So they like the Mandalorian, and they like watching documentaries about the Mandalorian. Like that.
Right. And so I think that this will be. I think it could be really intriguing, you know. And just to address it briefly, because it's something I've seen come up on other places online as well. But in the comments, you know, it said they can basically comparing it to Artemis Fowl. Disney did fuck up Artemis Fowl. They could fuck up Percy Jackson. I don't think it'll be that way, simply because I think one of the biggest issues with Artemis Fowl was, and I haven't read those books, but from all the research I did, they were just grab bagging from different books in the series. Like they didn't even use the first book as their basis. They used the second book, and they were just grab bagging from different places. And again, it felt like they adapted it off reading the Spark Notes for
Makes me want to punch Josh Gad. That movie makes me want to punch Josh Gad.
I want to punch Josh Gad for more than that film, but
yes.
But and I like him in certain things, but yeah, he's punchable.
Well, like Josh bad, am I right?
No, so I actually am really interested in this. I like that they have Riordan there as a consult, but he's not the person writing the scripts completely. I think that's where Fantastic Beasts fucked up royally in letting J.K. write the scripts.
Oh
So I like that Riordan's there. He's helping write. He's in the meetings, but he's not the person doing everything. And I think that's a great decision on their part, and I think it'll really help them. So this intrigues me. And then I guess the last thing I'll talk about is, huh?
I just like the way this intrigues me. I said, does it now?
It does intrigue me. Doesn't sound like anybody else cares. So what about Indiana Jones? The idea of Jones in the 60s, it logically makes sense.
The father will die.
So what do you guys think about that?
What do you think about that, Head? I like it. Yeah, I think it's
We'll go to a different head. What do you think, Beer?
I think it makes sense because obviously you can't have Harrison Ford at his age going back to fighting the Nazis and whatnot. Can't really have him do that, so it makes sense if we're going to take this in a realistic, I guess, a realistic direction. But they got to knock it out of the park, and I trust Mangold. But after
ever since the switch from Spielberg to Mangold, which that's words I never thought I'd say, this project excites me more. It does.
The dad die. The dad always dies in Mangold movies. Yeah, dad dies.
Maybe Shia LaBeouf back.
Well, no, he doesn't have to be in the movie. He's still a dad.
I would honestly, impending shitty human being lawsuit aside, I wouldn't hate if Shia LaBeouf was back from an acting standpoint. I don't think he was the issue with that film. That film has a lot of other issues before Shia becomes a problem. I think it's real out of place to introduce a hidden secret kid for Indy. Like, I get dudes slinging dong everywhere he goes, but
Harrison Ford, he has a few of those.
They already established with, like, specifically that it's Marion's kid. Like, they already established that the two of them have a rapport where they still keep up with each other, even though he won't see her for years. So, like, if you told me he banged Willie Scott in the jungle and she gave birth to his kid,
but
like that, I'd
want. That's like Wrath of Khan with Kirk's kid. Like, he knew he was out there. He's like, I kind of knew you had a kid, and I knew it was probably mine, but you told me to stay away, so I did.
Yeah.
And so... Bastard, you murdered my son!
Klingon bastards! Never trust them!
It took us 2 hours and 17 minutes to get to Star Trek this time. That's a new record.
Earlier.
Yeah. No. I mean, for the most part, though. I've seen 2 of them now. I should put that out there. I've seen 2 of them. I'm going to watch the 3rd one too.
The rest of them are on there. It's the ones that it says plus next to it. It's like that.
I'm probably gonna do Spock tomorrow. I have a lot of free time.
Spock is my favorite one out of the original series. Love it.
So yeah, So, and unless anybody else has any opinions on Indy,
no. Yeah. Hope it's good.
Cool. So with that being said, before we close out, I'm just going to run through everything I wrote up. I'm not literally going to read the write-ups. I'm just going to say it so I can say it was said on the show and we never have to go back to it again. Kong had some toys. One of them showed the axe. The axe is made from Godzilla. Tomb Raider is getting a sequel. It'll be directed by the person who created Lovecraft Country. The guy who directed the first one. The guy who directed the first one was named Roar Utog. That's a funny name. Both of those, Kong and Tomb Raider, are getting Netflix shows. The Netflix one is going to be made by the people who made Castlevania and written by Brian Duffield, who wrote the movie 2020. Right? Yeah, anime. Who wrote the 2020 film Love and Monsters. Love and Monsters was an underrated film. Rent it if you haven't seen it. The Tomb Raider show, there's nothing else on it except it exists, and it's going to be based off the games, not the movies. What else did I have here?
Basically, a video game that you're not playing.
Yes. Borderlands.
Unless they do the Bandersnatch thing.
Yeah. Borderlands cast Kevin Hart in their upcoming film. He'll be playing one of the characters from the video game Roland, who is a soldier on Pandora looking for the vault filled with riches. He joins Cate Blanchett, who's already cast as a previous character. And assuming the game is going to stick to the story, there's about 4 more major characters that need to be cast before they're good to go with the lead cast. The film is being directed by Eli Roth for some reason and written by Craig Mancini. John Boyega and Robert De Niro are doing a Netflix film called The Formula. Boyega will play a former Formula One driver who becomes a getaway driver for most likely De Niro. One of the guys who made one of the Purge films is directing it. Nothing else is known. Neil Gaiman's Sandman is getting a show. I'm not going to read all the names for time, but here's the picture. Read through very quickly. There you go. The guy from Logan's there. The girl from Star Wars is there. The guy from Godzilla is there. All right, we're done with that. And finally, Guy Ritchie's making another movie with Jason Statham. He's done like 4 other ones. There we go. Boom. Guys, thank you for watching.
Russian Job.
This was the sequel to Russian Job, a movie Guy Ritchie did not make. Not one of those 5.
We did it.
Yeah,
we did it, guys. So there we go. I never have to address any of it again. Actually, just because it's here, I'm going to bring up the picture because it's funny. Here's Kevin Hart, and that's the character he's playing. Like, look at that.
That's going to be awful.
Rolling.
All right.
Rolling down the river,
I still want them to make
rolling.
that Air Marshal movie.
Do you think they'll paint the faces of the people to look like the Borderlands characters?
You're talking. Okay, so you played the game?
No, but my friends have, and I've seen them play it a lot. So I
Oh yeah. So
and
here, so
it was kind of
I
evident
think-
in the picture there that like they're drawn to look like they're.
So here, so this is one of the
comic
pictures from the first game. So Kevin Hart is the character, is the black
On the
guy
left.
on the side. The girl next to him is who Kate Blanchett's cast to play.
Okay.
I think they will. I don't know if they're going to go like animated artsy looking, but I think if the character's a different color skin, I think they will adapt it. But yeah. Anything else?
No.
I mean, they better give him like some
So I was going to
like
say
a
with-
ladder.
Jesus Christ! I rushed through the story. I watched through the story, but basically, Roth's comment on it was that apparently before they cast him, they had extensive discussions, and that the character isn't going to be comedic, and that they are wanting to portray Kevin Hart dramatic. That Hart wants to do this dramatically, because the character in the game is the most stone-faced out of the group. So they are doing opposite type casting for a reason.
It's just him doing that voice on the airplane. He's like, "This is my voice." Why are you talking like that? That's not your. This is my voice.
Absolutely. With that being said, Devin, you're on your own camera tonight, man. Where can people find you?
Hey, man.
In the dark depths of hell.
Fair enough. That is.
I mean,
the
he's a
world.
little bit lower than I am, but not that much.
That is the world in the year of our Lord 2020, because we're still in 2020. Nikki, where can people find you?
I don't know.
Fair enough. Beer.
You can find me on this channel. I have another channel too. It's my name. There's that. You can find me being pretty upset that we're not getting Matthew Stafford on the Colts because he chose warm weather over cold weather. You can find me being upset about the Bulls almost coming back and winning, but then Damian Lillard hitting a game-winning shot, which he always does. And I'm on the show from time to time, and we will be doing Inside the Horseshoe this week because there's a game this weekend or next week.
Can you read that book to me out loud?
Yes.
Not as
Star
a
Wars,
stream, just as a
Light
bit.
of the Jedi.
Not
by
at the moment. We'll
Charles
schedule
Soule.
something for when I
And
go.
just in case you guys don't know, I have you muted, so I can't hear you if you're telling me anything, like stop or whatnot. So,
Wrap it up. Get it out of here.
All right, I'm
a long
wrapping it up.
time ago, we got to see far away.
You guys can find me everywhere on TMG to promo some of the other shows we have coming. Another episode of our Geek Show, the Supernova Show, hosted by Colton Roberts, should be going up tomorrow at around noon. Also on Monday, we have Schmo Talks. We'll be covering the recent draft that happened on Friday. And be on the lookout. We have Inside the Horseshoe. If anything happens in wrestling this week, maybe Suplex City chats. Maybe next week, Maddie will be back. We don't have to host the show. Who fucking knows? Guys, thank you for watching. My name is Aaron Knoll. This is After Dark. And stop mentioning Dear Evan Hansen. That news came out 10 hours ago, and I write these on Thursdays. Fuck it. Have a great night, guys.